Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Kind of important around here, as we do on that. All right, the gorgeous oracles and beyond. What is happening? And there's Jack Clark. There's the stunning Jessica McCreary. And thank you again, Michael, for a super chat. I really do appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much. As a super chat is a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Beelzebrad, how you doing, bud? And we continue on. There's the gorgeous and lovely Kara McIver from Saskatchewan. Give us a wave. We will all wave back. Gemini Moon, good to see you. As we continue on, the BBD Warrior, the lovely Helena, the gorgeous Carrie Ann, and the stunning Jenny. How are you? Fapster. Block Chic, you're back. We love you. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate you. Fapster, nice to see you. Laura, thank you so much for that super chat. Really do appreciate that. Way to kick off this show. Thank you so much. We're going to get going here in just a couple of seconds. And Obi Flett, welcome to our channel for the first time. Big J, what's happening? We're going to run out of time. Get your horns up. Let's rock with Bumblefoot right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Check out our swag, rock out to Bumblefoot, and read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. You may not know who Jonathan Davies is on a name basis, but after tonight, guaranteed you'll remember him. John is a lifelong experiencer from the United Kingdom, following the question of why me. Jonathan wants to know the answers to why he was one of the chosen ones to have contact with extraterrestrials. But over the last 4 years, since the explosion of the UAP topic all over the world, Jonathan has become an encyclopedia of information through his experiences and what people, from other experiencers to scientists to government agents, have discussed with him. Why is this the man people want to talk to? We're going to find out tonight. Jonathan Davies, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm good, Dave. Thanks ever so much for having me.
I am very glad that you're here. And you and I have been chatting for about 1.5 to 2 years now, off and on. But more recently, over the last few months, we've really become close in having some very deep and in-depth conversations. And we're going to get heavy into that later on in the show. But for our listeners, I want them to get to know you properly. What's it like being a lifelong experiencer? What happened to you?
Oh, I've always, since a child. I mean, I can't really remember when it started. It was it's always been with me. I would be out in the garden. I remember as just on my own, and I would see orbs at the end of the garden. They would never get that close to me, but I would just always see them. So that they were like bugs to me. You know, it was just completely normal. I mean, it wasn't really until I went to my first school and I saw them at the school, as I always did. And I said to one of the other boys that was, who's new, had only known him for like an hour, let's chase them and see what they do. I was just trying to be friendly with the boy, and I thought he could see them like I could see them. I didn't realize nobody else could see them. and he didn't have a clue what I was talking about, basically, and derided me and pointed out to the other children that I was a bit strange and that I could see things, and can you see them? And no, they couldn't see them either, and it made my life pretty much hell through that first few years in school. Luckily, it didn't follow me into high school. I got away from that initial class, and we all mixed from other schools, and it sort of ended. And I basically shut up about it. I didn't say anything to anyone. I never told my parents that I could see these things either. They didn't. Once I had that experience with others, I didn't really want anyone else to know.
Growing up, how difficult was that for you, being an experiencer? Because you were one of the few out there, John, who what I call a multiple experiencer. You've experienced the paranormal, you've experienced the supernatural, UFOs, extraterrestrial contact. You've run the gamut, even some cryptid stuff. You've run the gamut on everything, and very few experiencers, if we use that as a broad term, have had experiences with other phenomena as well. Do you feel special? And I don't mean like proud special, but do you feel special that you've been given the eyes, the ears, and the know-how to have all of these experiences?
I don't feel special. I mean, I just, like I say, it feels completely normal to me. It's abnormal to not have it, if you like. When other people say they don't even see UFOs, and I just find that fascinating, because I can literally go outside sometimes and just look up to the sky and say hi, and I will get, I'll get a big flash in the sky straight away. I won't. It's like they say hi back. It's part of my life, and it's always been with me. I mean, the ghost type encounters, if you want to call them ghosts, I don't particularly call them ghosts. I think they're dimensional entities. Started after a major event that happened to me when I was 15. I actually know the date. It was the 19th of January, 1983. I basically found myself in a field a few miles from home with no memory at all of how I got to the field. It was dark. I was on my own. It was cold. And I'm basically in this field in like a bubble. I can't hear the world around me. There's no sound at all. There's no wind. There's no insects. There's no birds. There's nothing. It's just me in this field. And I'm looking up at the sky. And as I'm looking up at the sky, thinking I'm looking at the, I got the memory of, wow, look at those stars tonight. It's amazing. But as I'm thinking that, the whole sky just moved. And it wasn't the sky at all I was looking at. It was basically a giant boomerang wedge-shaped craft that was miles wide. I could see, it was a bit, if you think of the Phoenix Lights, if everyone knows the Phoenix Lights, it was a bit like that, but a lot smaller white lights, and hundreds of them, and 2 rows of those. And there were 3 rows. I don't know whether it was 3 craft or 1 giant craft. I'm not sure, but literally the whole sky moved. And I'm looking up at this thing and in total awe. And it should fall out the sky, Dave. I mean, there's no sound, there's no engines. You just think, how is that thing staying there? How didn't it fall out of the sky? But it was just drifting. But anyway, it drifts enough, and I look around at this point, and it's like the bubble bursts, and I'm suddenly freezing cold. This is January in the UK. That is the middle of winter. But I'm stood there in jeans and a t-shirt. And none of it made any sense. There's all like foggy mist at my feet. It was quite an eerie experience. I looked to my right and I got my bearings. I knew where I was. I was literally about 1.5 miles from home, and I suddenly felt uncomfortable. So I run home. I get to my front door, and I think I'm going to be in trouble with my parents. Where I don't know where I've been. I've got no memory at all. In fact, I didn't have a memory the whole day. I didn't have a memory of the previous day either. It was literally, it was a blank. So I thought, I'm not going to go in the front door because I'm going to get into trouble. So I go around the back of the house. I climb up the drain pipe like I used to do when I was a naughty boy, and I didn't want to get told off by my parents, didn't want them to see me. So I climbed in through the bathroom window and I went to bed. And then the next day I was expecting to get it from my parents, because I must have done something. I was thinking, something must have happened. But I went down with I had school the next day as well, and I went downstairs expecting to get it, and they didn't say a word. And I thought, well, I'm not going to say anything because I've got away with it. Whatever this is, I've got away with it. And we were moving home in 2 weeks after that. So I thought to myself, well, I don't need to tell the kids in school. I'd already had grief as a younger kid, and I didn't want to take it to high school and be even stranger by saying that I've got a few hours of missing time and this big event has happened, I must have gone to school that day that all this happened because I wasn't in my school uniform. I must have come home and got changed, and something after getting changed, something happened, and I really don't know what it is. I mean, it turns out that night was the 19th of January 1983, and I didn't know there was a major event until a few years ago. I got talking to the author Bruce Fenton on UFO Twitter.
Good guy.
Yeah, and I told him what had happened to me, that I'd had this giant, Phoenix Lights type encounter when I was 15 years old. And he said, well, that sounds like the Night of the Triangles. Well, I'd never heard of the Night of the Triangles. And he said, well, get in touch with SUFON. We were the Swansea UFO network I'm in Wales in the UK. And I'd already knew them, to be honest with you, anyway, because I'd reported another major event that had happened to me in 2010. So I thought, all right, I didn't know about this Night of the Triangles. I'll look into this. But I can go into that one a bit later if you like, Dave. But
yes.
Basically, what happened was we did move 2 weeks after all this event, and I moved into the oldest house in South Wales. In Newport. It was like an old mansion house built in 1580. Very old house, and that was the point I started seeing what you might term as ghosts. Yeah, so that was. I can go into that if you like.
Yeah, let's get into that. Why not? That's what we're here for.
Okay, I mean, literally from day one of going into that. I don't know whether this was due to I'd never seen anything like classed as a ghost up until that point. I used to see the orbs in my house and things like that. I never associated them with ghosts, but I never associated them with ET or dimensionals or whatever you want to call them. So we move into this house, and literally the very first day, I'm my first night in the house, I've got a little old lady sitting on the end of my bed, and I can clearly see her, and it did scare me. I've never been scared by the orbs and the craft that I see. That's never bothered me in the slightest. But this did have an effect. It really did scare me. First night you think, oh my God, where have we moved? And then literally every single day I would get pushed. I would get touched on the head. I'd wake up. I'd be being spoken to, and I could have my eyes closed, and I'd wake, and I could hear this female voice speaking to me and wake up, and it was quite an eerie experience. I mean, the very first week I can remember my parents had gone to work. My grandparents who lived with us, who'd moved in with us as well, they'd gone shopping, and I was on my own. It must have been I don't know whether it was a Saturday or something like that. But I was on my own, and I'm sat downstairs, and there's suddenly because it's a very old house, you can hear anyone walks on the landing. You could hear the rickety floorboards of somebody walking on the landing. So I can hear somebody clearly walking along the landing upstairs. And all of a sudden, my mum used to keep all the bedroom doors shut because she's got a thing about dust and cleaning and, but all of a sudden I can hear all the doors slam, every single bedroom door. And then there was like 7 different bedrooms, big, massive doors, huge bedrooms, and slam, 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 every single door. So that scared me straight away. So you can imagine I've already had all these experiences for the first week, and now I'm on my own and I'm getting it in the daytime. So I go upstairs and every single door was open, wide open. They couldn't have been more open as well. So I just heard them all shut, but now they're all wide open. So I'm looking under the beds. There's nothing. I looked everywhere. So I closed all the doors, having found nothing. I got back downstairs, feeling very uncomfortable. And 10 minutes later, exactly the same thing happens, Dave. It's bang, 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 all over again. I go outside, I get myself a pickaxe handle. I'm thinking there's got to be somebody in the house with me, somebody's having a laugh. And back upstairs, there's nobody. So I go outside and we had huge gardens, big, massive gardens. And I'm sitting outside now on a bench. I'm thinking I'm going to wait for my grandparents to come home. I'm not staying in their house on my own. 15 or not, I was still a kid. And so I'm sat on the bench outside, and this big house had like a big, massive porch, and it had like leaded glass hexagon windows. Imagine like a church, very old church. And I look up, and the little old lady is just looking at me. I mean, I get chills now thinking about this. I've relayed this story lots of times to different people, and every single time David still has the same effect. Sends chills straight through me. Just I can see her face, clearly looking at me, and
Oh yeah,
pretty wild. I mean, but it was ongoing. I mean, that particular part of the house used to be a chapel. Okay, it was a very old house, like I say, and it was called the Queen Anne room because apparently a queen had stayed in there. It was a big mansion house. It wasn't a small little house. And my sister, that was her bedroom. My sister moved out because she was seeing the same things, and she was experiencing the same woman, and she couldn't take it. So she literally moved out. She was there only a few months, and she was gone. So just to give you an idea, I mean, and that is, I've had that now. I tend to live in, I'm in a small house now, but I've had a lot of big houses, old houses, barn conversions, and everywhere I went, I would get, exactly the same sort of thing going on. It seemed to follow me around. You hear these tricksters with the Skinwalker Ranch and things like that, but I get that as well. I don't think it's ghosts. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's some sort of entity that I'm misinterpreting as a, you iconize things as humans. We see everything in 3D. We're not unable to see anything outside of 3D. So if we can't identify something, we tend to give it a label, And so you think, well, what is it? I don't know what it is. So, it must be this. So that's what you tend to do. So maybe that wasn't a little old lady. Maybe there was something else, And I've literally figured, oh well, imagine there must be little old ladies living in this house, little old men living in this house, and you think of ghosts, and that's where this term ghosts come from. And I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing with UFOs. We don't know what they are, so we put an icon on them, we put a label on them. It must be a plane, it must be a helicopter. That can't be a UFO. So people label things. Strange.
Was it strange for you, though? Because this was very natural. At what point did you start to notice that maybe your life was different than everyone else's? From the UFOs to the missing time to the paranormal?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed as soon as that boy basically didn't see the orbs. As soon as he made my life hell for me, I knew I was a bit different, and because I would see these things. We'd be on the football field, and we'd be playing football. I'd be playing rugby, and they'd be on the edge of the field, and nobody else would ever see them. And they just mosey along. And I mean, I think they're like a mirror glass. The small ones, I think they're sort of like a mirror glass camera, and they used to keep an eye on me. That was the impression I used to get. If I was, I mean, it made me a loner when I was young because I couldn't talk about it. You know, I couldn't really speak about it. And the other kids knew that I was a bit different because I could see strange things and they couldn't. So they kept away from me. And to be honest, I quite enjoyed that in the end. I used to enjoy my own company, and I would go off on long walks in the countryside and go into the woods and, you know, be part of nature, me and nature together type thing. And that was strange, Dave. They would be white orbs when they used to follow me around outside in the daylight. But if I went into the forest or the woods, they would change color to red. That was strange. When I was 13, I had an appendicitis incident. I literally collapsed. I was all on my own, miles and miles and miles from home. And I was in the woods, and I collapsed on the floor in absolute agony because my appendix was about to burst. And as I'm on the floor in agony, I got surrounded by orbs. And in the woods, like I said, they used to be red. But on this occasion, I had white orbs, orange orbs. You know, it was, and they were all swirling around my head. You know, like I say, they used to follow me around and keep an eye on me. That was the impression I always used to get. It was like they turned up to look after me type thing. It was a strange. I don't know how to explain it. You know, what is strange about that though is that I managed to get home, and I went to hospital that night. Within hours, I had my appendix taken out because it was going to burst. And I've never seen those orbs since, those small little orbs. Ever since, I only see big orbs now. I see van size, you know, big orbs, sometimes as big as hot air balloons, huge ones. But never, ever see the small one. Chris Bledsoe, he's a friend of yours and mine. He's talked a lot about small orbs in the trees, and they come down to him. And I don't get anything like that. I mean, I did when I was a kid. You know, that would literally be I go out on bicycle, and they would follow me around, and they'd be treetop height at this point, and I could look to my shoulder and I would.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
See them, you know, it'd be a normal thing, or I would see something in the sky that would literally follow me around. You know, if it was dark and I was getting late coming home, I would see what some people might think are satellites, but satellites that take right turns, left turns, you know, and stop and shoot off when you're basically going into your house. You see them shoot off like we don't need to follow him anymore type thing. It was quite strange, you know. I don't get that anymore. That's something that seemed to stop as well, thinking about it. But yeah.
We've got 2 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Jonathan Davies, lifelong experiencer, is our guest tonight. John, you know, you have been able to eyewitness many things that the majority of this population on this planet has never seen or experienced. Do you regret having these happenings happen to you, or do you like it because it puts you on a lifelong mission to try and figure out what's going on? We got 90 seconds.
Oh, it's an obsession, Dave. It's a total obsession with me now. I mean, I've got to the stage that I've got through my work career. I've got my own business, and I've got to the stage where I can relax a bit in life. And now I seem to be totally and utterly obsessed with finding out now because it's been pointed out to me that this is very strange, and that nobody else can see these things, or very few people seem to be able to see these things. or they just see something in the sky and they don't have any real interaction. I've found that I'm obsessed with trying to find out. I had a major experience in 2010 we can talk about a bit later with a landing experience, but that really put me on a track to try and find out what this is and try and finally get some answers. Yeah.
The why me question. That's probably the biggest question out there. And you and I have debated that on the phone. And it is the biggest pain in the butt question out there if you're not an experiencer to try and solve. It's like having a 1,000,000-piece puzzle and all the colored side is facing upside down. There's just no way you're going to solve it. Jonathan Davies is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Personal experiences. The Experiencer Speaks. As John is a lifelong experiencer talking to us from the United Kingdom this evening. And when we come back, we're going to find out his first extraterrestrial experience and so much more when we return on Spaced Out Radio. So stay tuned. All right, we're clear, bud.
Yep.
Good start.
Yeah, it's nice to get it off your chest every now and then. I don't do that many interviews, as you know, Dave. So
well, I appreciate you doing this with us, man, and appreciate you trusting us.
I enjoy your show. I'm always in the chat room, and I try and pick up. I mean, some people consider some of the shows the woo, but that for me now, I'm doing my research. I think that is actually, it's highly relevant that we do actually look into the woo. That seems to be where a lot of this is going at the end of the day. I mean, like I've tried to say, not ghosts, maybe dimensionals, maybe that's it's all the same thing. That's the way that's where I'm getting with my research in this topic. So.
No, absolutely, man. And we're going to get into that. And, I already know that I'm going to have to bring you on again for a part 2 because I got to warm you up. The problem that I'm having is my audience doesn't know you, so I have to introduce you properly and let you speak. But I've got 1.5 million questions running through my mind that I want to talk to you about because I think there's really 2 sides of you. There's the experiential side of everything, and then there is the side where your research has literally taken you to places and to talking to people that not everybody gets the opportunity to speak to.
Yeah. Difficult conversation, that part, as you know, Dave.
Well, I know. I know you can't name a lot of names, and I'm not going to push you on that. The audience will have to trust me when I say you are very, very connected. Very connected. And, we'll skirt around that tonight. But, this is, there's a lot. There's a lot. And, we got 2 hours more, and it seems like such a long time, but a show like this is going to fly by, and I'm going to be at the end kicking myself in the ass, trying to figure out, why didn't I ask that? Why didn't I ask that? Yeah, I already know that.
We chat every day, mate, so
Yeah, we do. That we do. And that's good. That's a good thing. All right. Yeah, I like Chris's comment here. Big up, Jonathan, for being on the show at 5:32 a.m.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get into my wake-up hours and the witching hour, and we chatted a little bit of that yesterday on your show, didn't we? So
yeah, I asked the question for you about 3:33.
Yeah, mine is 3:23.
Oh, is it 3:23?
It seemed to be, yeah, it's a strange one. Everyone else seemed to be 3:33. and I was 323, which is strange.
Well, we're gonna have some fun here, and I, like I said, dude, my mind is racing so fast right now that I'm trying to bring it on in so I don't lose focus here.
I wouldn't mind getting into talking about SUFON as well, mate. I'm trying to push the guys, push what we're doing in Wales, and
yeah,
I'm heavily involved in that now. I'm redesigning the website for the SUFON team now. Swansea UFO Network, for any of you listeners who are still tuned in.
All right.
And we got some major cases, we've absolutely huge cases. We've got our own landing cases at schools, the same as aerial and things like that.
Well, like I said, now we're up to 3 shows.
Yeah.
Oh, God, you're killing me right now. Oh, man. All right, we got 45 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Laura Smithy ×2 for the amazing Super Chats. The Super Chats, everyone, is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on this show. We really do appreciate the love that you all give us with those, so we really appreciate anything that you guys do. Thank you to all our new listeners who are tuning in for the first time and are checking us out. We don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and if you're looking for SOR swag, go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on shop, and it'll take you right there. We got some great stuff for you. Here we go with the second half hour right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot. Check out our swag and read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight from the United Kingdom. Jonathan Davies is here, lifelong experiencer and a man who probably knows too much, even though he can't release much of it. But that's okay. We love John around here. He's a good friend of this show. And John, thank you so much for coming on to tell us about your experiences.
Thanks, Dave.
I want to kick things off with the idea, John, that, you are someone who, as you've grown in this field, from youngster experiencer to where you are today, you're someone who is reluctant for the publicity that many people want or many people desire. You're somebody who really bites your tongue on being public with a lot of the information that you know of. So why do you try and keep on the down low with everything?
When I spoke earlier about the sort of effect that it had on me when I was in school, my parents were never aware of what was going on with me, Dave. I literally kept it when I had that bad experience with the other kids in school. I didn't really want to speak about it. I literally, it was a bit of an annoyance. It almost wrecked my school life before I went to high school. I lost friendships. Like I say, it made me a loner. So it's not the sort of thing that I discovered soon on, that it's not the sort of thing that you talk about. You do keep some things to yourself, and I thought it was a bit strange. Why could I see them? Why couldn't others see them? I had a lot of things going on. I mean, when I was younger, I'd wake up and I'd be paralyzed with my mouth wide open and unable to breathe, completely unable to breathe. And then I'd feel myself getting lighter and start floating, and I'm feeling like I'm going closer to the ceiling, and then I'd black out and I'd wake up in a room, in a dark room, and then I'd have these eyes, not bodies. They didn't have, not even a head, just eyes floating around me, big black bull like type eyes. And it was, it messes with your head, Dave, because you don't know what the hell is going on. That was an uncomfortable thing. I mean, that became normal eventually as well, because it was happening. It would happen most nights of the week, and it would go on for months on end, and then it would stop, and then it would start again, regular. So it makes when you got things like that going on, it's not the sort of thing you want to talk about. I mean, so it was only because in 2010, so I put everything off. I didn't speak to anyone. I got on with my life. I got married, tried to have a normal existence, and I've got great friends that I've had for years and years and years, and they only found out any of this a few years ago because they saw me on social media and said, "What's this all about?" I have literally kept it all to myself and done my background research myself. I don't tend to read that many books on it, to be honest with you, because what I found was I'm trying to find answers, and if I'm looking at other people's books, you tend to get their answers as opposed to your own, So I prefer to speak to people and to network, and to, I watch the YouTube videos, don't get me wrong, like everyone else does. And I look at what people say, and I read what other experiences are saying, and I try and build a picture myself as opposed to picking up what other people are saying. What was the other part of the question? Sorry, mate. Well, bit early in the morning for me.
No problem, John. For you, I mean, being reluctant to go public with what and the information that you have come to over the years. We're going to get more into this a little bit later in the show. Do you feel that it's better for you to kind of stay on the outskirts with your experiences and with the knowledge you've gained over the last 4 years, so that way it really helps you focus on learning the ultimate answer to why me?
It's why us. That's where I am now.
Okay.
It's not why me anymore. It's I'm trying to find answers for us as well as myself. Don't get me wrong. But I've made connections that basically a lot of these people will never speak publicly, or they might be out there, but they're not. They'll never open up the way they might open up elsewhere to you directly. It's very awkward for a lot of people. I mean, it's been awkward for me. I didn't want to come out just because I had a business. I didn't want my business to be affected. You don't want your customers to find out that they're dealing with somebody who might be, we tend to be seen as irrational. You're strange, or you're classed as strange. I mean, it's only in the last few years since the Nimitz side of things and the New York Times has basically changed the dialogue and changed how we're seen by people, that we can actually speak. And that's the point. That and I had a major event in 2010. I'll go into that in a minute, but because I tried to come out then, I basically, something really big happened, and I tried to come out, and it didn't happen for me. It was like the public wasn't ready for it, type thing, and not even the UFO community were ready for it, type thing. That was the impression I was getting. But so I waited, and I saw the Nimitz articles, and that's the point. I thought, I'll join social media now, and I'll start interacting, and I'll and see where it takes me, and that's exactly what I did, and I am out there a little bit, but I do it for so that I try and find information until I can share it. You know what I mean? I'm learning for myself, yes, but I'm trying to do it for us, so that we can all get some answers. There's a lot of experiences out there who haven't been as lucky as me and made the contacts that find out some information behind the scenes. And even then, though, Dave, you know what it's like. You find out information, and all that does is make you've got even more questions. It's a very, very difficult. It's a rabbit hole that it's a never-ending rabbit hole, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the rabbit hole's going into new universes now as well.
Before we get into what happened to you in 2010, do you recall your first interaction with extraterrestrials?
I don't really class them as extraterrestrials, even, Dave. I mean, I've never really thought of them as from another planet. I thought, for me, it was like, because they were always been there since I was a kid. It's like they're here. They've never felt like they've come from somewhere else to be here. They've always felt, for me, like they are here, and that I'm glad that the likes of Lou Elizondo have started talking about dimensionals and other dimensions, and because that's the way I see it, and I think I've always classed it as that. I never really, he put words to what my thoughts were, when he started saying this, and I started looking into more that side of things, because they just appear wherever you are. If they were coming from somewhere, if they had come from long distances to get here, like E.T., you would think it would take them a bit of time to get here. But these things seem to be able to appear instantly, wherever you are. So I get the impression they're surrounding all of us all the time, and that's just, for some reason, certain people can see them. I'm not sure why that is. I've no real idea on that. You guess, and you try and find out why me, but there's no real answers on that one, because we're all so different. There doesn't seem to be any.
Let me rephrase that then. What was your first encounter with beings?
Well, with an actual being, I mean, like I said, it was always eyes. As a kid, it was strange. No face, no body, just these eyes. I'd be led on a table, or I'd led on something in a dark room, and there was just enough light to let me see the glint in these big black. They're not. I mean, if you look at a bull's eyes, they're not a nice eye. You know what I mean? They look like a crazy, not a nice eye. I mean, next time you're in a field and you see some cows, have a look at their eyes. It's not actually pleasant. They're strange. So that was they would be like circling me, or if they weren't circling me, they were coming in at different points. You know what I mean? Like lots of them. Strange. It's like you're on a doctor's table. I mean, you hear people saying they've had things done to them, and well, that is actually how it felt. I did feel that I was in a surgery or something like that, in a hospital, or that's the impression that you get. But it's a little bit uncomfortable because it's dark and you can't really tell what's going on. And I've got no memory of anything bad, though. It was just unpleasant because I didn't know what was happening. That was my. Maybe they're being nice to me and letting me and blanking the bad parts for me. I don't know. I'm quite happy though if they carry on doing that, because if there is bad things, I don't particularly want to know.
Have you ever found strange marks on your body?
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't know though. When I was young, it's only the last few years, and everyone started saying about triangle marks on their body and bruising and all these things, and it never really occurred to me as a kid, because, like I said, it's all been natural. So I was pretty active, even though I'd be out on my own. I'd be up trees and falling out of trees and bruising myself and cutting myself and everything that young kids do. I was very active. And so, if I saw things on me, it didn't really associate them with the other things that were going on. But I do remember triangular marks on my skin, like puncture marks, like needles. I do remember all that sort of thing. They never seem to stick around for me, though. I've got some people saying that they've got marks and they stuck around for years. I'm not sure about that, because that's not what happened with me.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
If I saw them, they would be there, and they would be there for a week at the most, really, and then they would vanish. I haven't had any marks like that for years. I've got friends now that have got marks. And they're ongoing, they still get these marks. I don't know. I mean, I get, I'll talk about that 3:23 a.m. thing, because I went through a period of, or a year, at least a year. I suddenly started waking up at 3:23. And I'm like, to start with, the first week, I didn't even look at the time, to be honest, Dave. I was like, what the hell? What's the matter with my sleeping all of a sudden? Like, why can't I sleep anymore? And then I noticed the clock, 3:23. And then the next day I looked at the clock again, 3:23. And it went on and on and on. But what was happening was I was waking up, and I would have this ringing type, not a ringing, but like a strange sound in my head. I've got it right now. Okay. I can literally bring it on now. Now, and if I talk about it, it comes. Okay, which is strange as well. But anyway, I suddenly started noticing this ringing in my head, and I would have a heavy nosebleed. I had never had a nosebleed in my life, okay, up until the point that this all started happening. And so I'd wake at 3:23, I'd have this ringing, I'd get up, because I knew I was gonna have a nosebleed, and I'd be up from that point, and I'd have this massive nosebleed, and literally a huge nosebleed. It just wouldn't stop. It would go on and on and on. And this went on for a year. And I actually said about it on UFO Twitter. I was like, is anyone else getting this, waking up at 3:23 and getting this strange sound in their head? And it's intense now, Dave. I wish I could explain how it sounds,
Is it like a high-pitched tinnitus?
Yeah. I mean, people say that to me, but how do you bring that on whenever you just talking about it? And how is it that I never had this up until the point I was waking up at 3:23 and getting these nosebleeds? Doesn't really make any sense. I never had this noise before in my head. I'd never had the nosebleeds before. I'd never woken up and every single night the same, down to the second.
Have you tried? Have you tried asking them to turn it down?
No, I don't do anything like that. I don't really.
If you do ask,
try and interact with them.
If you do say, "Can you turn it down, please?" they will turn it down.
Oh my God, Dave! I've just thought in my head, turn it down, and it's gone. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
that's nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I used to get that when I was having most of my major experiences. I know the exact ringing you're talking about, where all of a sudden, like, I have tinnitus, and my ears are always ringing. But this is different. It's kind of like a deafening tinnitus, where the sound all of a sudden overtakes everything. And my mentor, Pascal, said, just ask him to turn it down, and they'll turn it down.
Do something I noticed when this all started happening as well? I suddenly was able to start speaking to anyone I wanted to speak to. That's a hard one to explain. It was like people that there was nowhere on the planet that you would be able to speak to, because I'm a nobody. I'm a guy living in Wales with. I'm not involved in the intelligence community or the government or the military or anything like this. And so why would people want to speak to me? But all of a sudden I would send a question to somebody and I would just get speaking to them and they would open up.
Yeah.
Very strange. And it was all at this point. I would seem to know who I needed to contact. And it would just lead on and on and on. The coincidences, the synchronicities from it were just crazy. It was like, I spoke to that person, then somebody else would pop into my head. You need to speak to this person. I would go looking for them and they would immediately start speaking to me. No reason why they should, but they did. And I've just come to the conclusion now that whatever was going on at that, the 323 moment and the nosebleeds or whatever it was going on was meant, and that something had been done to me to allow me to do this sort of thing. I don't know. It's just strange. I mean, it's very hard to explain. But
very true.
It's happened. You're able to speak to some of the people now that I speak to as well. Okay. Let's put it that way.
And I appreciate you setting me up with that. I really do. We got about 5 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Jonathan Davies, lifelong experiencer, is our guest tonight. John, did you ever have the ability to summon craft?
No, I hear it. Chris Bledsoe says he knows when something is outside, to go outside with his camera or to look up, and he knows when they go in. I spoke to Damien Knott in Australia, the experience of Damien Knott. I interviewed him on my own. I've got my own podcast, as you know, Dave. I interviewed him, and he was saying he gets this feeling when to go outside and when to start filming. And they tend to turn up when he gets this feeling. And he said the feeling is like, say you're in a supermarket and you know that somebody is behind you and they're looking at you. And if you turn around, you see this person is looking at you. He said that is the sort of sensation that he gets. I haven't really spoken to Chris about the sort of sensation he gets. Have you spoken to him about that, Dave? Because it's not something that I get. I mean, no. I just see them. I go outside and I'm taking a post. I've got a post box just outside my house. I take the post out and I look up and there they are. If I go outside and I intentionally take a camera outside to video them or whatever, they won't turn up.
It's amazing how they know that.
Yeah, it's quite amusing. I mean, but if I haven't got the camera with me, and I've just taken my dogs out and I'm sat on the bench outside my house and I just glance up, there they are. It's strange. It's strange. I don't really understand whether you're in some sort of the relaxed sort of frame of mind and you just see them at that point. I don't know. Or they just, they're comical with some of the things they do, in my home. They are literally tricksters. I do know that they've taken things, and I find it amusing. I don't find it. Sometimes it's annoying because if you're trying to, because I work from home and you're trying to grab something you need for your business, and it's not there, and it's always kept in the same spot, and yet it's not there. It's like it's annoying sometimes, but I do giggle that. Come on, put it back. That's basically what I say. Come on, put it back. And I literally go and make a coffee, and guess what? I come back and there it is. It's exactly the same spot. You
are one haunted individual. You really are. And I think it's awesome. I really do. Do you regret any of your experiences? Or or let me rephrase that. Have you had, as we got about 2 minutes to go, have you had experiences that have been of the nightmarish variety?
Yeah. I haven't been to bed for nearly a year. And that's a longer one. If I can start us off on it, if you like, Dave, before you break.
Sure.
But so I'm in bed, and the usual paralysis that I used to get as a kid happened about a year ago. And I literally wake and I cannot breathe. I've woken because my breath has been taken from me. You know, I have no air at all, and my body can't move. I can only move my eyes. Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah. So I'm literally laid in bed, and my wife has a light on because she can't sleep at night, and my daughter's the same. She's got to have a little lamp on as well. So there's a little light in the room, and I can see what's going on. So I wake. I can't move. I literally just move my eyes. My mouth is wide open as far as it could possibly be, and right next to my face there is there's a female entity floating above my face with long black hair, you know, ridiculously long black hair, stupid 7 foot long type black hair, you know, literally floating as if it's in like a water or I don't know. And this thing is horrendous. It's like a hag with massive eyes, and it's an inch from my face. And I don't know what she was doing, but she was seriously pissed off, Dave, that I had woken and caught her. She gave me a look of absolute hate, and she literally starts floating away from me, and gets literally to the end of my bed and just pop, she's gone. And as soon as she's gone, I can move, I can breathe, you know, I take a scream. My dog is in the bedroom because he won't sleep downstairs, and my dog will bark at everything and doesn't murmur. My wife, even though I've screamed, doesn't wake, and I've screamed the house down. You know, it was literally an act. You could not have screamed louder type thing.
Right.
Okay. And I've literally got up and I've checked the house because it scared me, and I wanted to make sure this thing was out of my house. And there's nothing in the house. And this chair I'm sitting in now, Dave,
Let's finish it after the break, if you don't mind. Jonathan Davies, lifelong experiencer, talking to us tonight on Spaced Out Radio from Wales in the United Kingdom. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio and Jonathan's stories when we come back. All right, we're clear. Hi, Flippity. Nice to have you back. And Reptilian Overlord, welcome. Your story, I didn't have any, I've never experienced that. That would freak the living crap out of me.
Yeah, it's never been a bad thing, what's been going on. I've never perceived it as bad, Dave. So it was, that was very unpleasant, you know, and it put a different slant on things for me.
I want to save that for the radio side of things. I remember, it was about a year and a bit ago. I fell asleep in bed. I was the only one in the house. Everyone else was on vacation. And I fell asleep in my house, and I woke up about 3:30 or something along those lines. And you know that feeling when you have grays around?
Yeah.
And I felt like there was a gray running down my hallway. Like I have this blue night light in our hallway that illuminates the hallway, and it's very easy on the eyes, but if you pass it, it goes it's like got a sensor on it that moves it a little bit, that brightens it a little bit when it's darker, or tones it down when it's darker, but if somebody moves in front of it, it lights up. And I knew both my dogs were in my room sleeping, and because I had one on the bed and one on the floor, and I felt like I saw the light flicker. I woke up and I saw that light flicker. So I was thinking, okay, is it the cats? But it was that timid fear that I had, man, that if I got up and went out there, I would see something that would absolutely freak me out. And I just knew. And I moved. I remember moving more into the middle of the bed in order to, and I kind of put my blanket over my head, and I was looking down the hall just to see if they were coming back or if it was coming back. And the brave side of me was like, oh, just go out there. Go out there. And the chicken shit side of me was like, nope, not doing it. Not going there. Don't want to do it. Hey, B. Hoff, how you doing? Good to see you. Who else has arrived here? Nicole Perron or Perrin, your choice. And think
how long we got, Dave?
Right now we have about 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Okay, just going to go to the toilet. So.
Yeah, you go. Told you this one would get real tonight. This is fantastic. Oh, hey, Clam. Kronos, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, Advocate, you'll continue listening. You will continue listening. Oh, I agree with you, Stone Hobbit. I agree with you. I'm going to get through this story with him, and then I'm going to kind of turn the Jets around and kind of change the direction of the show here. Hi, gorgeous Teresa. How are you? Virgil.
I don't mean to scare anyone. Sorry.
No, hey, this is your reality, my friend. This is your reality. Hi, Virgil. How are you? We got about 1 minute here.
No worries. I think this is normal for us guys. I don't think there's any need for us to be scared. You know, I'm trying to... Part of the reason I'm not going back to bed is because I want this thing to turn up when I'm... You know, that I'm... When my wife is not there, so they're not scared. My wife and daughter, I don't want near them, but I'm quite happy for it to turn up again so I can have a chat.
All right. I want to say a big thank you to GFGFG, Greg ×2, Smithy ×2, Laura and Chris for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support this show on a nightly basis, and we really appreciate it. If you're new here, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. It really helps out. Thank you to all the veterans tuning in. Don't forget you can do some shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop. Here comes Bumblefoot.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here is hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Weird Ward. Weird Ward is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot. Check out our swag and read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with lifelong experiencer Jonathan Davies, and you can follow him on Twitter at I Want to Know. Very simply. It's very simple. And John is going to get into this story where right before the break, he had some sort of banshee wake him up in the middle of the night, and that really, really freaked him out.
Yeah, I mean, your guest last night, I'm struggling to remember her name. She was really good. And she was talking about banshees. Yeah, really good. And I never really considered that entity as that female entity that I saw as a banshee. But like I said earlier on, people misinterpret experiences and contact experiences. Maybe that wasn't a female entity at all. Maybe that was something completely different, and I was labeling it as, giving it an iconography that I could accept. Maybe it was something so wild that I had to give it a label. I had to give it an icon. I had to give it it was a female. It was the less threatening of the species for a man. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know what that was. The fact that it just literally vanished in front of me, I don't know. There are Celtic myths of a female that gets seen in Wales in particular, which is the ancient part of Wales and Scotland, obviously the Celtic side of things. And we've got stone circles, and we've got the history here is absolutely crazy. And Lord of the Rings, was based on Wales. The Hobbits were based on Wales. I don't think people realise that because the film was made in New Zealand because they had the scenery. They've got the great scenery, but it was all based on Wales, and the myths that are here are crazy. And I think that a lot of that got taken when people emigrated to America, and all these stories got taken over there as well. And but it's all part of the old lands, and these are the old lands. Our houses are hundreds of years old, It's crazy.
2010.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
You wanted to talk about this story. What happened there?
Yeah, so I'm living at that point in another part of Wales called just not far from Swansea, which is very active. The most active place in the United Kingdom. Okay, for UFOs, more get seen in that part of the UK than anywhere else. So that's Wales basically. So I'm living in an area called the Gower, which is a coastal area with beaches, a stunning nature reserve type area. I had like a barn conversion on the coast. Just had a daughter. She's 2 years old. And I'm working from that location as well. That was my business location, and it's literally right on the coast, by an estuary, and I'm on top of a hill, looking down onto the estuary with nothing between me and the beautiful view. Yeah. So I'm sat downstairs. It's the 7th of October 2010. and my daughter is with me. My wife's upstairs having a shower, and my daughter goes over to the conservatory windows, and she's not speaking very much at that point. 2 years old, she does, she's speaking, but no big words or anything. And she looks outside and she points, and she says bright. And I thought, oh, that's a good word. And so I go over to the window and I see what she's looking at. And my neighbour to my left, going down the hill, had tennis courts. And right by the top right-hand corner of the tennis court is an orange orb, a very large orange orb, the size of a very large van. And it's just sat there next to the tree. When I say an orange orb, anyone doesn't realise, they look like the sun. But say for just so you can picture them, they look the sun, but this at night, and obviously nowhere near the same sort of size as the sun. And for some reason, they don't hurt your eyes when you look at them, even though they're very bright. Okay, so this thing is just sat next to the tree. I'm just watching it, thinking, oh, that's a bit closer than normal. When I see these things, they don't tend to get that close. This was very large orb. So it just sat there, and all of a sudden it just shoots, like blink and you miss it type speed, shoots downwards. Remember, I'm on the top of the hill, into the estuary. It's about half a mile it's shot, but because it's directly in line with me, I'm literally looking down on it. So it shoots down to the ground and is so fast, I think, oh my God, I think it's crashed. Okay, well, I've never seen these things move at that type of speed. Normally, they just sort of mosey along for me and let me see them for as long as I want to see them. Okay, but this thing was like, boom, and it shot to the ground. And as soon as it got to the ground, there were like massive flashes of bright colours coming from it, all different, like boom, in your face. They would like blind you type flashes. They were huge, and they seemed to be directed to me or my direction, where I was living. And all these different colours were going on, and I'm thinking, what the hell? I've never seen them do this before. This is new. And this is going on, Dave. And then another object appears over the opposite coastline, which is Llanelli and Buryport, the towns of Llanelli and Buryport. And it's cloud level, okay? So you couldn't see the stars. There's cloud. This thing now is coming in. It's like a very large moon. I can see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it gets right above the town and directly opposite me and between this object that's on the ground, making all these flashes. And it just sits there. It's like a white with a green tinge and a bluey green tinge, and just sit there. It's like it's watching what's going on or keeping an eye on what's going on. Okay. And as I'm watching that, and I carry on watching this object on the ground, thinking what's going on, I've opened the window. There's no sound at all. I can hear, though, all of a sudden, the sound of a Chinook helicopter to my right, inland. And I can hear it coming closer and closer, and I can see two lights. They're not flashing. It's a red and a white light. And this thing is very low, and I can hear it coming in, do, like a big, massive military Chinook helicopter. And I start thinking to myself, oh, have I got this wrong? Is this not what I normally see? Is this something that, maybe this is an accident or something, or this is a military thing that's going on? And so I watch this Chinook helicopter get closer and closer and closer, and I'm fascinated what's going to happen next. It gets all the way up to the object on the ground. There's a light that passes between them, and the helicopter vanished. Totally vanished. Okay, including the sound. And the sound now is very loud because it's the only sound I can hear. There's no other sound outside at all, when the window's wide open, and it's just gone. But I can hear it again, and it's gone all the way back miles away, inland again, and the same thing happens over and over again, a repeating cycle of this helicopter just coming in, the light passes between them, it's got louder and louder every time it's come in, vanish. 8 or 9 times this must have happened. Okay, this object on the ground now has turned blue. Okay, so an orange orb. I've never heard of an orange orb turning blue before, but the flashing lights have all stopped. It's no longer orange, and it's now blue, like a turquoise blue, and it looks like a craft. Okay, and it's just sat on the ground, not doing anything. So the helicopter thing has gone on, and this is over the space of an hour. It's not a short, it happened and it's gone. No, this is going on and on and on and on. My wife is upstairs still in the shower. I've run down the bottom of my house where my office was, and I've grabbed I had a big pair of coastal binoculars, and I've grabbed a brand new camera that I just bought for my business to take product pictures. Literally just bought 2 days previously. Never used it. So I grabbed the camera. It's literally in the box. I take it up. I've put batteries in it because I tested it when it turned up, and I start snapping away. So I've taken loads and loads of pictures. Weirdly, the best pictures never came out. They were just black. I've still got the black pictures where there's nothing on the picture, which never made any sense to me because they was like, oh, wow, take a picture, and there's nothing there. It's strange. But lots of the pictures are quite strange. And I can share those with you. Maybe John Hudson can put some in the description and some links or something so people can see them. So I've got my binoculars. The flashing is still going on, and it's blinding me. So I'm literally going, wow, and taking the binoculars away from my eyes because they're so bright, and I'm snapping away. And then to my left, at that point, I went upstairs and grabbed my wife out the shower because I wanted another witness because I knew something strange was going on. And because I may not have shared all this with other people in my life, but my daughter has just seen it. I'm seeing it. I've got pictures, and I know this is all finally, maybe I can bring somebody else in on this. You can say, yes, I saw it as well. So I go upstairs, I grab my wife, who I've never spoken to about this at that point, and I drag her out the shower and I take her to the window and say, look at that with the binoculars. And she's no interest in this topic at all. I've learned after that night, she was disinterested then, and she was annoyed that I was dragging her out the shower, So she's looking at this thing through the binoculars, and then her response is, oh yeah, that's strange. That was it. Okay. But I've got a witness, and she would say she saw it if she was ever put on the spot, to say that she saw all this going on as well. So I'm back downstairs. I carry on taking pictures. And then all of a sudden, another object comes in from the sea that I hadn't noticed because I was looking to the right of this helicopter incident. And it's an emerald green object, very low. And it comes right up to the object that's on the ground that's landed, the blue object now. And all of a sudden, there's a big flash of light that wraps itself around the blue object. Like imagine the Star Trek with the tractor beam. That's exactly the sort of thing that happened. This light comes from it. It wraps itself around the blue object, and they start moving out to sea. And as soon as that happened, the helicopter vanished and never returned. And the big white object that had been above the opposite coastline vanished and never returned. And I literally, for 10 minutes, I'm watching these two objects go out to sea. So I've no idea what happened. I phoned the police, because I'm thinking something major has happened. Maybe I should report this, And I phone the police, and the police say, no, nobody else has said anything. Nobody else has reported anything. It's nothing to do with us. It's not a police helicopter. But keep us informed. I mean, Dave, for weeks on end, they were phoning me up out of the blue and just saying, it's the local police station here. I'm just interested in that case you told us about. Have you heard anything? Okay, so I was like, I hadn't heard anything because I'll tell you about that now in a moment. But
John, I want to ask you one quick question about that. When you report something like that to the UK police, do they turn those reports over to the UK government?
They used to. They used to always go to the Ministry of Defence, but they basically shut that office, or they say they've shut that office. Okay. They say they no longer do it. It's like Blue Book. Well, we no longer do it because these are not real, remember?
Yes.
Same sort of thing.
Okay.
But
because here in Canada, every RCMP report goes to NORAD.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I do freedom of information requests now for other cases that I look at, and you see the responses you get back from the police. We no longer keep records on these sort of things. And, they're very, very crafty, very, very crafty. I'm sure it all still goes on, but not face to face with the public. I think they basically take military reports and keep, files on those. So anything to do with the public, they'll just fob you off. No, we no longer look into this. We don't think it's a threat. So we don't bother keeping records, and that's how they get away with it in the UK.
Gotcha. Now, with everything that's going on, now that your daughter is seeing this and you're seeing this, the police are calling you for updates. Did you think you were a target of sorts of information on what was going on?
I'll just carry on with what happened then. I mean, it didn't end, Dave. It didn't end. It was like, okay, so that night I phoned the police and I didn't get anywhere with the police. The next day, I'm like, my God, I've got to find out what this was. I'm thinking all these massive flashes of lights and the helicopters would have attracted a lot of attention. I was thinking everyone must have seen it. But there was nothing on the news that night. There was nothing on the radio. So the next day I'm in my office. I do my bit of work and I got to phone some people. So I start phoning around. I phoned the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard said to me, it was nothing to do with us. We weren't doing an operation that night, but try the English Coast Guard in Cornwall, because they sometimes come up here and do operations, but we doubt it, because of the time of night this was all going on. This was all like between 8 and 9 in the evening, so everything's finished at that point. People have finished work, So I phoned them. No, there's nothing to do with us. I phoned the fire brigade because I thought, well, if this thing had crashed, who knows? Maybe somebody's reported something as well to them. No, nothing to do with us. On the opposite coastline to me, there's a military base, RAF Pembrey. I phoned them up, and they were really shitty with me on the phone, basically, and said, look, we shut at 5 o'clock. This is nothing to do with us. Stop wasting our time. That was the sort of response I had from them. Didn't get anywhere. But while I'm sitting there going through this, I noticed that there were black vans at the point out on the point where this thing had landed, Dave. It was basically my view from my office, exactly the spot where this thing had landed. Okay, so every day I knew exactly where it had landed because I would look at that same view every single day. So I'm looking out the window now, and I hadn't noticed them travel out there, but there were two black vans parked out on the marshes. There's like a track that goes out from the local castle that the local farmer uses. He keeps his sheep out there. I've never in 2 years of living there had seen anyone else out on that track apart from the local farmer tending his sheep. Okay, so this was very unusual. Very next day to see two black vans parked, and there were 3 or 4 men. I don't know whether it was 4 because they kept on moving between the vans. And they were literally wandering the area where this thing had landed, and they looked like they were using metal detectors or something else. I don't know. I'd left my camera and my binoculars at the top of the house, and I was too busy to go up and get them, to be honest with you. It didn't click with me that I knew it was strange whatever was going on, but I was still in the middle of my work day, if you like, and I'd already not been doing my work because I'd been phoning up all these different people, trying to get answers. And so it didn't occur to me. I kick myself now that I didn't take pictures of them because people say, oh, that sounds like Men in Black, or that sounds like, there was a cleanup operation taking place or something like that. You hear about metals being dropped or white powders being seen in these areas, and maybe these guys were coming in as a cleanup, and I think that myself now. I don't know. But anyway, I didn't find out who they were. I'll go on to that in a minute. I went down the hill and walked to see if I could speak to some of my neighbours. I'd be honest, I'm a bit of a loner, so I didn't really know my neighbours. And the area is a touristy area where people come in at certain times of year during the summer holidays, and use the houses as a tourist houses type thing. So they're not always there. But I did get to see 2 people. One person I had seen before, so he obviously lived in the village, and he hadn't seen anything, which amazed me because of the sound of the helicopter was really loud. How can you not be thinking what's going on out there? We lived in the middle of nowhere, so this was a big noise like this. You'd open your curtains and have a look, but he didn't. And I took my laptop with me because I transferred all the pictures from my camera onto my laptop, and I showed him, and he was like, "Oh wow, I can't believe I've missed this," But he didn't see anything, and for me, it was more frustration that he hadn't seen anything. I saw a lady in her garden, but she must have been a tourist. She hadn't seen anything either. They'd been having a meal and they hadn't bothered. They hadn't heard anything. I just couldn't believe it. these massive flashes of colour. How could they not have seen this? All this noise, nothing. I mean, I went to what happened down about a week afterwards. I went to the local garage, and there was nobody in there, Dave. And I thought I'll ask the lady in there. Maybe somebody's reported seeing something. Nobody. Oh yeah, a tourist. They said a tourist is in here the other week, and they saw strange flashes out on the marsh. But they were tourists, Dave, so they've gone, and I've got no way of contacting them. You know. It was beyond frustrating. I went to the local castle. I used the excuse to my wife, we've never been to the local castle. And that's where the track went out. These vans must have used to get out there. There's a gate, a locked gate, and they must have used that track. So I thought, we'll go to the castle. I can have a chance of speaking to the local farmer because he ran the castle. So we go to the castle. We have a look around the castle as quick as possible because my motive was to speak to this farmer. Okay. And there's like a marquee or something up, I seem to remember, where there was a coffee shop. And there was a lady in there. And I said to the lady, how do I speak to the farmer? And they were just behind me. There's a guy sat at the table. It turned out he was the farmer. I couldn't believe my luck. And I told him what had happened. I said, look, who were these guys that you led out onto the tracks the very next day? And he looks at me with a puzzled expression and says, I've never let anyone out on that track. And he said, in fact, come with me. And he takes me and my wife. We walk down the hill from the castle. We get to the gate to this road that leads out onto the marshes. And on the gate is clearly marked private property, no entry. And it's padlocked up with a rusty old lock that doesn't seem like it's ever been opened, you know. I start thinking, what the hell, you know? How the hell? Who are these guys? You know, when I talk about misinterpretation, and I get the impression that these things, and I'm pretty certain that these things basically can manifest as anything, Dave. Okay, so maybe these weren't black vans at all, and my perception had been altered to make me think that they're black vans, because how did these people get out there if the farmer didn't let them out there? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, that story got told to Lou Elizondo, by the way, and Lou Elizondo basically said maybe my perceptions had been altered. You know, maybe I was misinterpreting things. Okay, just so you're aware.
When we come back from the break here at the bottom of the hour, John, I want to turn the corner with you because I have a lot of people asking questions about, you know, the government side, the day-to-day UFO topic that is the other part of your story that you were highly involved with on a social media side and a very private side as well. And I want to ask some questions regarding that because you are, I think, one of the best kept secrets in ufology in what you know. And we're going to see what little bit of dripping we can get from John and the information that he has. Jonathan Davies, lifelong experiencer, continues with us on Spaced Out Radio next. We got 5 minutes, buddy.
There's a lot more to that story still, there, Dave. It went on for days.
We can finish the story if you want.
Yeah, and it is pretty wild. Some of the things that went on after that.
My goodness, do you want to continue it after the break, or do you want to? You can give it now if you want.
Yeah, I mean, basically so that was the next day. I saw the black vans. I went down to see the neighbours. Didn't get anywhere. Total frustration. I phoned Nick Pope. I saw an article. I was wondering who the hell can I speak to, you know? And I saw some article by Nick Pope, and I got in contact with him by every email, and I sent him all my pictures, and I said, tell me what the hell I've seen. You know, what was this? Because I'm thinking he's got access to radar, and he can tell me exactly what was going on, and very naively at that time still, you know, because I tried to step away from the topic because it had been, you know, something that I've been trying to have a normal existence, and then I've been thrust back into it after all these years with a massive event again. But I contacted him and I sent him everything, and he came back to me straight away and he said, intriguing pictures, very interesting, but unfortunately, I'm no longer involved with the Ministry of Defence, and I don't have the access to look into this for you. And that was as far as I got. He told me to go to Bufora, which is like Sufon, not Sufon. That's how it was. Mufon. And basically tell them, see if they know anything. Well, I did that, and I never heard anything from this Bufora in the UK. They never got back to me at all. So that was another dead end. I went on the internet, and at that time there weren't that many places to post things. I found a website called ATS, above top secret.
Yes.
And
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Yeah, so I went on there, and that was a huge mistake. I basically sent my pictures. I told what happened, and I had people telling me, "Oh, that's a street light, mate." When they saw the orange picture of the orb, and I'm like, "How are you talking about? That's the middle of an estuary. There's no street lights in the middle of an estuary." And you try and explain, and I showed them the GPS coordinates. Go on Google Earth, I was saying to them, and you'll see exactly where all this happened. I'm on the coast. There's no street lights apart from on the miles on it to the other side of the coast. You can see street lights there, but not in the middle of the estuary. But it was a complete waste of time. So what happened then? I was out cutting my grass, Dave. I was going to cut my grass. My wife had gone to town, and I had this robot lawnmower, and I'm taking it across my drive to get to my grass. And I glanced to my left, and that emerald object that had come in from the sea and rescued this object on the ground is now coming towards my house. Okay, very low, only like 100 or foot above my house type thing. And it literally comes in, it comes right above my house and stops.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah, and I'm just stood there in mouth open type thing, looking at it. I've never seen one of these emerald ones up close. And it's like panels of light shifting, like shape shifting around like an emerald color, emerald shape, jewel type object. And it just sat there, not doing anything, not a sound, no, I didn't get any feeling from it. Some people say they get a vibrational feeling and things like this. I never get anything like that. But then all of a sudden it just shoots straight down the length of my house.
Right
out into the middle of the estuary. It gets into the middle of the estuary, takes an immediate 90-degree, straight out, boom, out into the sea. Like, shoots straight out and then straight left, no banking like a plane. And as I'm watching this, and it goes into like a pinprick size, and I can still see it's going out into the distance, out to sea, there's a roar behind the back of my head. And there's two fighter jets come swooping in very low over the top of my house, low enough to damage my roof. That's how low they were. Okay. I'm on the floor now, Dave. I've chucked myself on top of the lawnmower, and I'm just looking up at these fighter jets banking, taking the same track, and they follow this object out to sea. I've got no witness. My wife's gone to town. Yeah. I'm like, I can't believe this. It's like here we go again type thing. I look on the news again. There's nothing on the news. There's nothing on the radio. I thought I'm not going to waste my time asking if anyone else has seen this. I'm not going down to see the neighbours again. I'm already feeling foolish that I'm the only one that had seen something the other day. And it carries on from this as well, David. There was another day, the next day again, something else happened.
That's incredible, dude. I want to say a big thank you to Spooky, to GFG, Greg ×2, Chris, Laura, and Smithy for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to all our new subscribers who are tuning us in. Let's rock right now. past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Jonathan Davies. He is a lifelong experiencer out of Wales in the United Kingdom, and he is sharing his stories and knowledge with us tonight. John, welcome back.
Yeah, great to be here again, mate.
All right. I have a question from Greg here, who is asking, do you think the UK government is as secretive as the United States on UAPs? Does the UK downplay it like the US, yet it seems the US is opening its door by citizen demand?
Far worse. Far worse. I mean, the secrecy basically that America learned how to do, and the CIA and everything else came from Britain. You know, that they were taught by the British how to be secret. We taught the world how to be secret and how to keep secrets, and we're the best at it. There's no two ways about it. The UK media is completely controlled. They do not talk about this topic, or if they do talk about it, it is with the X-Files music and the derogatory. Oh, we found a bus on the moon, and stupid things get pushed over here to make us look like crazies, and nothing is really changing. I hear that Lou Elizondo is coming over in the next week or so to the UK. I don't know what he's doing, or I've got hints of what he's doing, but I won't be saying what I think he's doing. But hopefully, things are going to change, but not at the moment.
You know what? It's the same thing here in Canada, where the Canadian government really has this idea that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And so far, the Canadian government has been absolutely silent in regards to this. And I know from talking to people in Ottawa that behind the scenes, there's conversations going on. And I know Lou Elizondo has briefed people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they were in the House of Lords, of all places. They couldn't even do it in the House of Commons. But in the House of Lords, they had a debate on it about a few months ago. It got brought up by one of the Lords. Are these things national security risk? What are we doing to look into these things? And the government responded and basically said, we've looked into this and they are not a risk, so we're not going to waste any more time on it.
that was a 2-hour debate in the House of Lords. And the lady, I don't know your Minister of Defense there, but she was literally like saying the exact same thing over and over for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
It's all scripted, mate. It's all scripted. It's all the narrative, and they do stick to it in the UK. You know, they stick to that narrative, and it's not a threat. We're not looking into it. I mean, these things are being seen daily. I mean, I may not have the perception that they're a threat because all my life I've never really, they've been here all the time, and they're always here. They're always in the sky, and you never hear a planes crashing into them. So maybe they're not a threat. They've been around for thousands of years. We know that. But they should be taking it seriously. Now they're seeing them on radar. We've got the new radar systems out there that have come online, and these things are being seen all the time. We know they're being tracked. How can they not be perceived as a threat just in case? Just a public airline. We hear of public airlines going missing, for God's sake,
I hear you. All right. GFGFG has an interesting question. I think he follows you on Twitter or something, but he's saying, John, what do you think Tim Taylor who do you think Tim Taylor works for now? Do you believe he is with Eric Davis at Aerospace Corps? And what do you think Tim's involvement with Space Force is? Do you think he was one of Tom's, I'm going to assume that's Tom DeLonge's advisors.
Well, he does work with Aerospace Corp because Hal Puthoff told me he does. Okay, because I asked Hal Puthoff, who does he work for? He works for the NRO, and he works for Aerospace Corp. I don't know whether he's working directly with Eric Davis, but I know he does work there. I've no idea whether he's involved with Space Force. I know that he is an advisor for SpaceX. I don't really know. I mean, which is a bit ironic when you see Elon Musk saying he doesn't know whether or not there's anything out there in the universe. But when he's got Tim Taylor, who's known as the Dragon, is his name, his nickname, and he knows all. I mean, we know he's doing re-engineering work because we've heard all that from the Diana Pasulka side of things with American Cosmic. You know, he was called Tyler in American Cosmic in that book, for anyone who doesn't know who Tim Taylor is. He's a billionaire, or he's a very, very rich man, and maybe hundreds of millions he's worth. And he's made a lot of money from medical products, and apparently he gets his inspiration from downloads. You'll get a download, you'll get an idea in his head, and he'll go and make that product and patent it. He was involved quite a bit with Chris Bledsoe, from what I understand, and apparently he adapted some of the things that Chris said and made products and patented them and made a hell of a lot of money. He's a very, very interesting guy. I mean, I wish somebody could get him to be interviewed, and he would come out the darkness and speak to us. I mean, thank God we've got Eric Davis, who's willing to drop the odd bomb, and be blunt with us.
All right.
But I've no idea whether he's one of Tom's advisors. I've never heard that one. That's a new one on me.
All right. Couple more questions before I take this over again. Stone Hobbit is asking, John, have you ever recorded any of your verbal while in NT state?
What's NT state? Sorry.
I'm going to say whether, when you're out of consciousness, kind of like channeling.
I don't do channeling. I don't do CE5. I don't do channeling. I just see things. It just happens. So I don't really. It's normal for me. Do you understand what I mean? I mean, I know other people are desperate to see these things, and so they try different things to try and see if they can get experiences as well. And I don't do anything like that. I've never channeled. I quite like the idea of meditating sometime and seeing whether or not I can bilocate, and because I'm getting told about bilocation a lot lately by other abductees that I've spoken to recently, and that interests me. But my mind is so active in this topic, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to meditate. Whether I can quieten myself enough to take a breath and chill out. I'm a bit tired now. Maybe this is the time to do it, Dave. I don't know. My brain's not quite as active, but normally it's 50 million miles an hour and things are popping into my head left, right, and center. And I don't know whether I'll ever be able to do it. It's never happened yet. I've never been to Egypt in my mind and things like this, like other people seem to have done. And I don't get downloads. I don't get messages. That is really frustrating for me. It makes me skeptical of people that say they do, to be honest with you, Dave, because I'm trying to be rational and trying to be plausible, but you've got to be careful the things that you believe and what you do believe, what you don't believe, and who you chat with. You've got to be so careful in this topic because there's so many people with egos and reasons for being involved that don't make any sense unless you think, well, they've got ulterior motives. There's something going on here. I'm in this for what the hell's going on with me? What the hell's going on with us?
Yes.
What does this mean? What does this mean for humanity? These are the sort of things I'm interested in. I'm not interested in making money. I mean, if somebody comes along tomorrow and said, "Yeah, I'll make a movie about your landing experience or something," Dave, I'm going to bite their hand off. Don't get me wrong, but it's not of interest to me. I'm never going to. If somebody asks me a question, I'm going to answer the question, and there's if I can answer the question, I will.
Shar wants to know if you're religious.
No, I'm not religious. I consider myself spiritual. And I consider myself. Hopefully I'm a good person that I help people across the road, and I let people have my seat if there's no seats on the bus, and I'm a good person, and I try and live my life in a good way. But I'm not religious. I've never understood that, to be honest with you. I've never understood why people would need to believe in something that's non-provable. And they've got such faith in it, and I've never understood that. But this topic's a bit like a religion, isn't it? Because there's a cult of religion almost to this topic, that people have faith. Even people that haven't seen UFOs, they're obsessed with finding out information about them. I find that fascinating. Why are they obsessed? I'm obsessed because obviously I've got some sort of interaction going on. That's the reason for my obsession.
Fully understand. Fully understand. I'm going to ask one more question here. This is from Gloria. Have you ever been visited by Men in Black or any other government entity?
No. I mean, I saw those guys out on the track, and they had black vans, obviously, and I don't know who they were. But no, I mean, I'll be honest. I'd be quite happy if somebody did turn up, and I'd probably lock them in, Dave, and sit them down and force them to stay there for the afternoon with me and tell me everything they know. I'd switch positions with these people just to get some information out of them, and I'd happily, if the government said to me what's going on and tell us what's going on, and for your end, I'd happily help them if I could help them. I don't see any reason to not. I don't know. No, there's been no Men in Black as such turned up and knocked my door. I wish they would.
How did you become so connected? I mean, you're an ordinary guy. You're somebody who likes to ask questions, yet you have an innate ability to have people just approach you and talk to you, whether you know them or not. Has this always been a lifelong skill of yours, or did this just pop up within the UFO community?
I don't know. I probably am quite good at speaking to people, and I don't have any fear of speaking in public. And I've done a presentation recently to SUFON in Swansea, Swansea UFO Network, and there was a good crowd, and it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't bother me. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're speaking the truth, it's easy. When you speak about things that have actually happened to you, it's simple to speak about them. So there's no fear. There's no. I don't know. I don't know why they speak to me. I can contact anyone. It's the people that don't speak to me I'm suspicious of, to be honest with you now, Dave. Because most people do speak to me, and I don't know whether it's other people are telling them, you should speak to John, and that's why they speak to me. I don't know. I've never asked that question of why you're speaking to me, but I'm quite an open person, so, and I'm sincere. Maybe that comes across. I don't know, but I like I said to you earlier, something did change when I had that 323 thing going on with me, and I was waking at 323 and I was getting the nosebleeds and I was getting the sound. I would get the sound, and then I would think, it would come into my head, I need to speak to a certain person, and that person, I would spot something, and I would literally be able to speak to them that day. There would be no delay. It is strange.
The reason why I ask that is I have had a number of people that I trust, before you and I even started really getting in-depth talking, saying, you got to talk to Jonathan Davies. You got to talk to Jonathan Davies. And you got to get to know him. And I'm glad I am. But you're like an anomaly in this field where you don't spill the beans like a lot of what happens on UFO Twitter when someone talks to someone. You are very considerate and kind. You ask when conversations can be private and when they can be on the record. You're okay with that. You prefer off the record. And I think that's why people trust you, in regards to giving you information. But it always amazes me, and I recall in our conversations that you have said a number of times, I have no idea why some of these names, like you mentioned Hal Puthoff earlier, even talk to you. Yet here they are conversing with you.
Yeah. I don't spill the beans, but I do try and push people in the right directions. So if I find out something, this is the area we should be looking at. This is, if somebody says this is what I'm looking at, and it comes across to me, and I get the gut feeling, yeah, this person might be on something. I try and put the likes of UFO Twitter on that same track, so that I'm not alone. That I am trying to tell them the sort of things that are going on, but I can't betray the fact that somebody's told me something in confidence, and I'm not going to, spill the beans on that. At the end of the day, they've told me something in confidence. I've got to keep that to myself until they come out and say something. That's down to them, and I've got to respect that, and I do respect that, and I think people know that. And maybe that's why they speak to me. I don't know. I mean, Hal Puthoff was an interesting one. I went to the SCU conference, virtual conference. Now, there's a conference everyone should go to, because it was beyond interesting. This is a conference filled with scientists. We're trying to get scientists involved in this topic. I mean, I really want scientists to be involved in this topic, because, if we're going to get any answers, it's probably going to come from scientists. So I go to this conference, and the system that they set up for the virtual conference was in place weeks before the actual conference took place. And so I signed up early, and I got access straight away, and there were people chatting to each other weeks before the conference took place. So I noticed that Hal Puthoff was the main speaker, and I took the opportunity of sending him a private message, and he immediately responded. And I was amazed, He immediately responded, and I sent him some of my pictures, and I told him the details of my landing case. I told him the details of the strange helicopter incident where the helicopter was vanishing, and he was fascinated by that. He was fascinated by my pictures, and he kept on coming back to me. Every time I sent him a question, he would come straight back to me, and he started giving me advice on things I should look at, different papers that I should read. For instance, he said, when I talked about the helicopters, he said, you should look at the Cash Landrum case. You should read the valet Eric Davies paper on the sort of things that are in slide 9. The Chris.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Smelling slide 9, where basically these things can manifest as anything and alter your perceptions and make you think you're seeing things that are not really what you think you're seeing, and it just went on from there. I mean, that went on for 6 months. We were chatting constantly. And now I've just gone through a period of 2 weeks where we were literally contacting each other several times a day. I mean, everything that pops into my head, I send Hal a message, when I'm not on that system anymore. I use another system now to contact him, but it's an ongoing. He's such a gentleman. I wish that he could speak more. Obviously, he can't speak more because he'll lose his NDAs and his ability to work in the topic. but he is still as open as he can be, you know.
Out of all the information that you have learned over the past couple of years, what can you share that has really stuck out to you regarding the phenomena?
The fact that they can alter perceptions, the fact that they can manifest as literally anything. I mean, I've had confirmation of that personally. I was thinking to myself, there was a when the debrief came out with Tim McMillan, and they were all everyone in the community, the UFO community, was talking about triangles and triangles coming out of the sea, and where are the pictures, and when are we going to get to see the pictures? Okay, when I was 15, I saw a boomerang or a wedge-shaped craft, but I didn't see triangle. Okay, and I'd never seen a triangle, and yet, Dave, I've seen every shape under the sun. People talk about the Tic Tacs. I've seen Tic Tacs. I've seen Tic Tacs quite regular. Okay, but they used to be cigar-shaped, long cylinder type shapes. Now there seem to be smaller ones, which is what got reported by Commander Fravor and everyone else. But I've lost my train of thought.
See, it's funny you say that you've never seen a black triangle. Out of all the craft and UFOs that I've seen, I've never seen the classic disc shape.
I'll just finish the triangle bit and I'll go back to discs. The triangle, so I got confirmation. I was thinking to myself, why have I never seen a triangle? And it was just in my head. I wonder why I've never seen a triangle. Everyone's going on about these triangles. So I go to bed. I wake up at about 2 a.m. My dogs are restless. I took my dogs outside. 3 black triangles flew over the top of my head. Okay? That night. Now, I don't think they were triangles, Dave, because I've already said I think these things can literally manifest as anything. And so they basically proved, yes, they can manifest as anything. And there you go. Here's some triangles for you. I think they were probably these orange orbs again, and they can make you think, anything you want. They can be anything they want. When I've talked about the helicopters, I moved to a house not far from where I'm living now, another big barn conversion. And me and my wife were in bed, and it was late, and we wake up. My wife woke up first and woke me up and said, "What's going on?" And the whole house was shaking. Okay, we lived in the middle of nowhere. We had no neighbors, just us on our own in the middle of nowhere in this big house. And the whole house is shaking. And it was deafening noise of a helicopter above the house, a Chinook. We see Chinooks all the time in Wales because there's a lot of military bases in the area, and so they practice in the Brecon Beacons. The military do, not far from where I live. But literally, I can hear this Chinook above the house, and it feels like it's going to land on top of my house. That's the way it felt. That was the noise. That was the way the house was shaking. I looked outside, I opened the curtains, and you could see outside was all lit up by white lights. I could see all the gardens lit up. So I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? So I literally run through my house. All the way I can look through the windows and I can still see the lights outside. I get to the kitchen door. I open the kitchen door. Boom. It's gone. There's no noise. There's no light. Okay. There's nothing. Yet the next day, my roof is damaged. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. Was it a helicopter? I have no idea. But how does a helicopter vanish immediately you open a door with no more sound? And yet it's deafening the second before you open the door. Doesn't make any sense, Yeah. I don't know whether they're giving me some sort of you need to realize we can do this sort of thing, and that's the sort of indications they were giving me. The same sort of thing with the triangles. We can manifest as anything. We can. I've got stories that we've seen in Wales that I'm the part of SUFON, the Swansea UFO Network. We've got people saying, "Oh, I saw this helicopter, and the helicopter pilot was waving at me." And he had a big smile on his face, and then the helicopter vanished. It's nuts. For a start, why would a helicopter be there just stationary and some guy smiling and waving at you? Have you ever heard of anything like that? It's weird.
I hear you, my friend. I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Jonathan Davies, we got him till the bottom of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Then we got the fedora-wearing John Hudson. with the UFO report, Shirky Poo's news. We'll continue with the third hour of Spaced Out Radio next. It's a good interview tonight, John.
Thanks, mate.
Good interview. Thank you. Oh, man. Very, very happy with this one. Very happy.
There's some wild things. I mean, I haven't told you. I mean, I still haven't finished the disc. I'll tell you the disc thing when we come back. Well, that was again all related to the landing experience. I'd never seen a disc, you know. And then a few days later, there's a. Do you want me to wait until we come back and I'll tell you that one?
Yeah, you can tell it now. We got like 5 minutes.
Okay, so what am I? So I saw the fighter jets that day. Then on a Sunday, we used to go up to my parent-in-law's home for Sunday lunch. Yeah, so we travelled up to Newport, which is like 50 miles from where we lived, and every Sunday we'd do this. So we get to this place called Cwmbran, where they lived, a little town called Cwmbran near Newport. And we get to a set of traffic lights, and I'm at the front of the set of traffic lights, driving my car, my wife and the daughter are in the car with me. And it's a red light, and I'm stopped, and there's people crossing the road, lots of people, there's a busy place. And it's a beautiful, clear blue sky. And because all this had been happening for the last couple of days with the landing, and then I'm on the floor with the green object, yeah, I look to my right, and as I look up, there's a disc. Never seen a disc before. Okay. It was nuts. Absolutely nuts. Like a grey metallic disc, quite low in the sky. You would not have missed it. Yet not one of these people who are crossing the road is seeing anything. My wife is to my left, so she's got the roof of the car, so she can't see it because it's to my right, because we drive on the right in the UK. You know, the right-hand steering wheel's on the right. And I'm going nuts. I'm going, oh my God, here we go again. You know, and nuts. Like I said, my wife isn't interested. So all she's caring about is the fact that I've been agitated again, and I'm going, oh my God, they're back. And my daughter's getting agitated in the back of the car and starts crying. She's in the baby seat, you know, and my wife is getting annoyed with me, and then the lights change. Nobody has looked though, Dave. There must be, 10 people on that side of the road, 10 people on that side of the road. Clear blue sky, disc. Nobody saw it. I'm looking at them thinking, what's the matter with them? Why can't they see it? Clear as day. So I drive. It's about another mile to my parent-in-law's house. And I get out of the car, I park the car, and I'm just stood there, and it's still there in exactly the same spot. Hasn't moved. And I watched it for a few more minutes, and I'm going, look, to my wife, and my wife's not interested. She goes, it's straight in, annoyed with me that I just caused all this again in the car. And I got bored. And there was no. I didn't have a camera on my phone or anything in those days. This is 2010. I probably did, but I didn't. I don't bother taking pictures anymore. I took those pictures in 2010, and I took a load of abuse, like I said, about on ATS and things. And I tried telling people about what they were, and I thought, well, I'm not bothering with pictures anymore. They don't tell you anything anyway, Dave. You can have the best picture in the world, and everyone will just say, something is suspicious about that picture. There's something wrong with that. And so what's the point? It's the same with the videos. I mean, if I could get a chance of doing a video, I got last Christmas, my wife got me a Cyan-X color night vision camera. Because I thought Chris Bledsoe got one, and he was telling me all about it. He said, you should get one. So I got my wife to get me one for Christmas. It was weeks of rain. Wales is like tropical rainforest, apart from we don't get the heat. We get the cold and we get the wet and the cloud. Okay. Yeah. So it was weeks after Christmas until I got the opportunity to go outside when it was a starry night. So I go out and I'm like, all right, turn it on, boom, boom, to video mode. And I put it up to my eye, and there's an orb. The very first thing I see, like 1-2 seconds, and I got an orb. I pull my thinking, there's nothing there. You could not see So these things are in the sky, and you can't see them unless you've got certain equipment. That's something I've discovered. Okay, so I've got a video of that. I'll send it to you.
Sounds good.
But it's literally just an orb. It's not moving that fast, but it's got an intermittent flash. I checked. There was nothing on the flight radar, because I obviously look at all these things. There's nothing on the flight radar. There was nothing on satellite trackers. Yeah. And you couldn't see it with the naked eye. There was no sound. Yeah, so it makes you, if people have got the budget, it's only a few £100 to buy one of these SOR cameras. They should grab one, because you'd be shocked, because it literally does turn night into day in the full color.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We've got just under a minute here before we gotta come back here. And I got a bunch more questions for you here.
I'll tell you something else I filmed in a minute with that camera when we come back, because it's something that infuriates me about this topic.
Sounds good. You having fun?
Yeah.
Good. All right, 27 seconds. Want to say a big thank you to Dirt Road, Spooky, GFG, Greg ×2, Chris, Laura, and Smithy ×2 for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do nightly here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning in. Don't forget, you can grab your SOR swag on our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor and hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Weird Ward. Weird Ward is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we bring in UK experiencer Jonathan Davies. He's from Wales, has an incredible amount of experiences, has an incredible amount of contacts that he has worked to learn some of the stranger parts of this entire phenomena. John, welcome back.
Nice, man.
Now, you have seen a UFO landing. What was that like?
I mean, that was a major experience. You know, I hadn't seen one land before. I don't know. This is normal. You know what I mean, Dave? It's like I do sometimes find it hard to get excited about it, which annoys the hell out of people. And I don't tend to take pictures. I'll tell you, something else we were talking about when we were in the break. Then we were talking about SOR color night vision cameras. And I had a few months back. I was outside and I had my camera with me. No, I didn't. I went outside with the dogs, and a red orb started going over the top of my house. Massive one. Okay. It was very low cloud, and I could see the red coming off this orb, going onto the cloud above and reflected onto the cloud. Okay, so I run inside and I grab my camera. It was only going slow, literally just drifting over my house, no sound at all. So I start filming this, and I'm thinking, right, this is going to be as good as the landing, okay, because it was that good. It was a really good orb, and it's letting me film everything. The cows, I'm on a farm, And the cows in the field right next to my house are all going nuts and all running around. It's still dark, okay? And they're all going nuts and mooing. And I started filming all them because you can see all them on the camera, on the night vision camera. And I'm filming the trees so I can give scale to this thing. So I'm going up and down and I'm giving scale to this thing. And I'm talking as I'm videoing it and describing what I'm seeing and describing the time of night and the date and everything else and the fact that I can't hear anything. And this thing literally goes across and I've got a hill just to where this thing is heading. And it landed on the hillside. Okay, and I filmed it all and I'm thinking, oh, great. Am I going to get the same sort of flashes that happened before? Nothing happened, though, but I'm checking everything as I'm doing all this, because I'm panicking that I'm going to do something wrong and I'm not going to show the rest of the world. Because it's one of the things that, it doesn't really bother me if people believe me, but it would be nice if I could give them something to say, shut up, you skeptics out. Yeah, here you go. There's something they've just let me film, because it's rare that they let you film something. So you film. I filmed all this. I got it all perfect. And to be honest, Dave, I got a bit bored because it's just another orb. At the end of the day, it's just sat on the hillside. It's not really doing anything. So I turned off the camera and I think, oh great, I'm going to watch it. I've got a 65-inch TV that I've got in my office that I tend to watch things on. I'll hook it all up and I'll go and see how good this was. I come inside and my SD card on my camera is blank. Okay, there's nothing on the internal memory, and I've been checking this camera over and over, making sure that it's all set up and I'm not making no errors. The little red light is flashing when you normally video something. Nothing. I mean, there were other films on there that I'd made. Luckily, I'd made copies of, but they were still on that SD card. All those were gone as well. Okay, it drives me nuts. This is what they do. They let you get a glimpse of these things, and I'm sure they know your intentions. And if they don't like the fact that you're going to share it with anyone, they won't let you keep it. They'll blank your SD card, or they'll drain the battery on your camera. After that incident with the landing, I saw things for weeks on end. And I was taking pictures, and the pictures would come out fuzzy, or they'd be rubbish. Yeah, if you looked at them with the naked eye, you could see them perfectly. It was driving me nuts. I literally stopped taking pictures. And after the experience, I had sharing pictures, and the sort of trolls telling me, that's rubbish or that's fake or that's, and it drains you after a while. You're trying to share, you're trying to let everyone very strange going on, and you should be aware of it. And you get these people, I don't know whether they're plants in the community that are out there that are, year of intelligence community, people like Doty who used to pay people to dumb this topic down. And I get the impression there's still some of that been going on over the years, or during the period that I was trying to tell people anyway. It seemed to be that nobody wanted to listen. I was thank God for Dave Partridge of Shadows of Your Mind magazine, who basically contacted me and said, let me put your story in my magazine. And it increased my interest again in the topic and in sharing, and then thank God. I'm meeting Dave on for the first time on Wednesday, strangely enough.
Very cool. Very cool. For you, as you kind of go on with learning about this subject, and like I said right before the break, you're someone who a lot of people are talking to. What do you think, and what's your opinion of both UFO Twitter and the media narrative on this subject right now?
Opinion on UFO Twitter? Oh dear. It's good and bad, UFO Twitter. I mean, there are, like I said, there are elements to UFO Twitter that I cannot bear. There are little cliquey groups that control narratives, and it drives me to despair sometimes when you know full well that something is being pushed that shouldn't really be being pushed, but that's the narrative of the week, and that's why they're doing it. And you see the same people doing this together all the time, and you have to ask yourself, well, there's something a little amiss with that sort of things. There are lots of good people. I block the trolls if I can block the trolls, and I try and share things. Like I said earlier, I try and push people in the right directions. If I've learned something, I will try and share as much as I can share without breaking a confidence. And obviously, I'm hoping that those people are one day going to come out and speak, and they do. Sometimes it takes months and months and months and months, but usually they'll say, "Don't say anything about this," but so you don't say anything, and then the next day they're talking about it themselves. It's a bit ironic sometimes, but yeah, strange. What was the other part of the question, Dave? Sorry, because I've talked about UFO Twitter.
Well, just the entire narrative.
Magnolia Health is made for Mississippi. A statewide network of specialists and primary care physicians at more than 17,000 locations, community outreach programs, and quality jobs for nearly 400 Mississippians. Our commitment to building healthier communities in Mississippi has never been stronger. Learn more at magnoliahealthplan.com/benefits.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Narrative that is going on, because there are a lot of people out there who believe there is no narrative and that there is no real conspiracy going on with this topic, that we're seeing the government play it out, especially in the United States. We're seeing this really start to take bold steps forward where people are talking about it, and I just want your opinion on it.
There's obviously been a plan of action from day one. I mean, the TTSA didn't just spring out of nowhere. The TTSA were a pre-planned group. I mean, it turns out, I'll say this, but maybe I shouldn't say this, but the TTSA were never supposed to come out. Okay, Tom did actually push that so that TTSA came out, and the guys just went along with it because they thought, well, maybe it is time. And that's the reason that they actually came out. But TTSA had been something that was going on in the background for a long time. I mean, from what I can gather, Elizondo was only brought into it because he was counter intel and there was leaks. They needed to plug the leaks, and that's why he was brought into it. But everyone seems to think that General McCasland was the person who brought everyone together and started all this off with John Podesta. But this has all been going on long before McCasland was involved. The rest of the team were already together. It is that's enough on that one.
Well, and I know that you have to be careful with what you're saying and what you're doing and everything, because I know you don't want to break the trust of a lot of people who are talking to you these days. But do you have an opinion that you would like to share about a lot of these cliques and factions that you just mentioned regarding what they're doing, whether or not it's helping the field of ufology progress?
I don't know whether it's helping. I mean, we do seem to be progressing. So I control what I say. Sometimes I get angry and I get frustrated, and then as I get older, I get worse. You're desperate for. I'm 54 on Monday, and my dad died at 55, Dave. And I promised myself that I was going to try, because he had an interest as well. He never saw anything, but he had an interest in this topic. He loved his sci-fi, and he was always interested in the universe and looking up the sky as well. Maybe that's where I get it from. I don't know. But I promised myself I was going to do my best to find information on this, and I get really, really frustrated. I'm a year away from the point where he died, and you start thinking, oh my God, I could be dead in a minute, and I might be learning things, but the things I'm learning, just they're more questions. You know, you and some things you don't want to learn as well. There are things like you wish you didn't know. You know, there are things that, like, Tom Long basically comes out and says some parts of this are not very nice, and if some of the things I get told are true, then he's right. You know, I don't know.
I know this is uncomfortable.
Difficult conversation, this part.
What's your opinion? There's a lot of speculation regarding Lou Elizondo, whether or not he has been speaking the truth. We've heard questions come out about whether or not, he worked for ATIP, if he was actually funded, if he was literally, there's been people asking questions. Lou, prove you worked in the Pentagon, show us your tax records and your, everything. What is your opinion of this guy?
It's a hard one, isn't it? I'm really appreciative of the fact that there's no doubt that we have moved forward, and he has spilled some beans. They seem to be still spilling, and the rabbit hole just gets bigger. I don't know. I mean, I've always been careful because of the likes of Rick Doty, counter intel, and Lou's counter intel, and so it just makes me weary. We've been burnt in this topic so many times that I've just got to be careful. I want it all to be legit. I want it all to be real. I want to feel part of the team that support him, and to get more and more and more out. I mean, he does seem to be doing it. I've just got this. I use my gut feeling in this topic, because you have to. Your gut is the only thing that's keeping us, because we're not getting any real information. You've got to trust your gut. That's what I've discovered, and my gut says still be careful. Still be careful, and.
Well, let's face it. I mean, I think he's done a lot of good for ufology as well, and I changed my opinion on that, by a lot of the things they say and talking to the man himself. But I mean, once a spook, always a spook. And Lou will tell you he is a patriot, and he loves the country more than he loves talking to UFO Twitter and the people about this subject.
Yeah, I've always had the impression that the reason that he's doing what he's doing is because he's a patriot, and the military side of things is much more interesting for him than ever telling us what's really going on. I mean, he does seem to have mellowed that with me the last couple of years. He does seem like he does want us to know. That's the way he's coming across now. Or that's the impression I get. I've still got my gut feeling, though, that at the end of the day, this is to militarize things and stop the Chinese getting things before us, and stop the Russians getting things before us, and let's pretend it's a threat so we can weaponize things. And I don't know. I mean, why did they do the Crada? Why did they do that? That made me suspicious. As soon as that happened, I never understood why they did the Crada with letting the government have all the materials. Like, they hoovered up all the materials that were in the public realm, never to be seen again, and that put doubts back in my mind as to, is this a legitimate movement for disclosure, though I'm talking about TTSA at this point, or not?
So do you think it's about disclosure or confirmation?
Depends what you mean by both, doesn't it? At the end of the day, I've never needed disclosure because I've always known that this is going on. So for me, it's not disclosure. It's and I'm not really interested in the tech. So that has never bothered me in the slightest. The tech, the who and the why are the only things that really matter to me, and getting answers for those. Because I think it's a lot more involved than the tech, and nuts and bolts doesn't bother me. in the slightest. That is irrelevant. In what comes after death? Is this all part of our existence? Is this all a trick? I don't know. Difficult.
Earlier this summer, we saw Jeremy Corbell release a number of videos of alleged UFO craft. I believe 3 of the 4 videos were confirmed as UAP by the Pentagon and the military, but the final one wasn't, and we've seen pretty much until the rubber ducky video, we've seen a lot of the videos shut down to the public. Do you think this is on purpose? Do you think Jeremy Corbell was cut out of releasing videos? And do you think that this is something that we need more of? Is more of these clear videos of craft?
Well, there was supposed to be. I mean, I was told that there were several videos that were declassified and were eventually going to come out. But because Congress suddenly started moving on things, and it was looking like they were going to do things, and they started doing reports, etc., that they didn't feel the need to release these videos. I got a feeling these are being held in the background, and that they will be released if things turn sour. Who knows? I mean, apparently Jim Semivan was telling people there were several videos. Not being confirmed by Lou. I'd obviously love to see as many videos as possible. I mean, the Corbell video, those didn't do it for me at all. The triangular, that was obviously bokeh, whatever they call it. That didn't feel real. I mean, I've been told that they were actually orbs. There was no triangles at all. I was told that they were orbs, and there were hundreds of orbs. Red orbs, I think I was told. I mean, I find it more interesting that those teams were on the boats filming everything, and they even allowed into the radar rooms, and they were filming in there. I found that part of it much more interesting. I mean, I'd love to know whether or not there was actually a nuclear sub, and obviously under the water, and that was what attracted these things. I've also been told that maybe they were trying to shoot these things down via electrical magnetic pulse, EMP, and that's why they were around these ships. I mean, they never tell us whether or not these orbs go inside the ships or go inside the subs. I'd love to know about that as well, Dave. Have you ever heard anyone talk about that?
No, nothing about that.
And yet we hear that from Ross Coulthard that an orange orb was at Pine Gap in Australia at the base, top secret military base in Australia, and the guards were chasing it through the base. We know that they entered the base at Bentwaters in the UK. Orbs entered the base and were scanning the nuclear missiles. Okay, but we don't. So, and we also know that Bob Bigelow released a video from Bigelow Aerospace showing a security camera of an orb in a room, floating around a room, and everyone basically said that was a dust particle. All the trolls out there who think they know what they're talking about said that was a dust particle. I mean, I don't know about that. It did seem a bit different to the types of orbs that I've seen, but I was told that room held low-grade nuclear material, where that orb was, and that people were shocked. I know scientists were shocked that video was ever released. So it makes you wonder, I mean, why are we not hearing from sailors and, people on these bases that these things are actually going inside the buildings? Apparently, I mean, if you look at slide 9, it tells us that these objects can pass through matter. So they can enter. They don't need the door open. They can literally go through the wall and materialize on the other side. And like I said earlier, I think the small ones are a type of camera or a mirror glass, and they're literally a view. Maybe they're a view from another universe or another dimension. Who knows? But they are sort of like a drone type object. I mean, I can't see any other purpose for them. But that's my impression anyway. I don't know that for a fact. I just get the impression that they're like a camera and they're looking at things, you know.
You got 30 seconds, my friend. Where do you see UFOs and ufology going by the end of the year?
Time travel. I think we're going to start hearing more about time travel. I'm convinced that 1947 Roswell was actually a time craft, and that we are actually utilizing that technology now. And like I said earlier, I don't think it's ET. So that should give you a massive hint as to what I think they are. And I think it's dimensionals, as in the orbs. And I think the nuts and bolts, time travel.
That is a big hint from a man who says a lot through a little. Read between the lines, people. Jonathan Davies. We're going to get him back on again. Up next, Fedora John joins us with the unbiased UFO report. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Beautiful, man.
Thanks, mate. I won't stick around because my dogs are going to need to go out, and my wife, I told she could get up at 7 o'clock, and she's stuck around. It's 7:30 now, and I heard the dog bark a short time ago, so
all right,
I'm going to get in trouble.
Well, you go. John and I will probably be here for about an hour or so. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome. If you can sneak back in, if not, I'll talk to you soon, anyways.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
And
I enjoyed it. Thank you ever so much.
I might look to bring you back on by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I'll do it in a panel form.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, that's great, mate. I really enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much.
I appreciate you. Take care, my friend.
Thanks for that. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Jonathan Davies, I want to know on Twitter. I loved how secretive he was when I was asking him those questions in the last half hour. I loved it. When somebody says very little like he did, it actually says a lot. I encourage you to rewatch what he said and read between the lines. I am feeling a little bit better. Haven't been coughing much today. God, that was fun. Thank you, Sweetly Morbid. Appreciate that. And YJ, absolutely. Everybody, the one thing that I've learned about experiencers is everybody is experiencing different things. There may be a few similarities, but you know what? You have to take what you believe and you got to run with it. Just take that little snippet of information and glue that snippet with what you have learned. And this is how the puzzle comes together. So I think it's an excellent comment that you made. Thank you, Spooky. Appreciate that. I'm very happy with tonight. Very happy. Ed Parnell, how you doing? Are you in Wales too, Ed Parnell? Yeah, that was some good woo tonight. But if you listen, early on in the show, John stated that he really believes that the experiencer is going to come out on top after all of this. That's something interesting. And I can tell you that behind the scenes, many people whom I have talked to are very, very much in the understanding that the experiencers need to or will be the future of ufology. It has to be. Has to be. Right?
I just hope too many hopes don't get built up.
I don't think they will. Experiencers are used to getting shit on, so. Hey, skip to my loo. What is happening? Yes, Kira. Damn it. I forgot his website. He does have a podcast, too. Let me just grab it here.
It's a good podcast, too.
Yeah. How did I forget that? I was just so excited about talking to him that I absolutely forgot. Oh, well. I'll try and get it. We're coming up here to get things going. Hi, Fedora John.
What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good, bud. Doing good. Got to get up for hockey practice in the morning. Lazarus, how are you? Here we go, everyone. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Time once again for the fedora-wearing John Hudson in the Unbiased UFO Report. The fedora-wearing John Hudson is taking us down a road as we look at the legendary Jacques Vallée and his UFO research tonight. John, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around. Dave, how's your voice feeling, buddy?
It's feeling better. It's feeling better.
Good, you sound better.
Yeah, I still think, I'm not 100%, but I think I'm about 85%.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand, once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
80 to 85%, I think that's a fair assessment. And we'll test it out in the morning when I go for hockey practice with my boy, and that's okay. Hockey rinks.
Are you one of those parents that yells all the time at the hockey? Oh, okay.
No. I coached way too much minor hockey to
That's
learn that I hate hockey parents, and I never want to be that hockey parent.
Good for you, Dave. Good for you, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know, I never know how many people actually follow Jacques Vallée's work. And if by any chance you don't, I highly recommend you do so. He's a very interesting, very well-studied, very intelligent man that has really dedicated his life to this study in many ways. Though he has done some other interesting things, which is funny because living in the Bay Area, that's actually what I originally knew him for. And not that I know him personally, but I knew of him. And basically, I'm sure many of you have heard that he recently came out with a new book about the Trinity event. And I myself haven't had a chance to read it yet, but as he's been doing the tour around different interview stations and so forth, we started to get some of the real juicy parts out of the books and out of what he's working on right now. And I was really kind of blown away of what was being covered. So let me just hit a couple of the high ones, and I think even you might be impressed, Dave.
Sure.
So the first one is at this Trinity crash, which, by the way, was in August of 1945. So this is 2 years before Roswell. This UFO went down on this 80,000 acre farm, and the military were not the first responders. 2 kids were the first responders. And they saw things like they actually went into the craft because from their point of view, it was a downed aircraft that had pilots that needed help. So that was their motivation for actually entering the craft originally. Needless to say, when they found no humans and they found some other things, they panicked a bit.
As you expect.
Yeah, as you'd expect. Now, this is a great story. I highly recommend people get into it because it's got some really funny parts to it, like the fact that the Army said they needed permission to enter his property because there was a downed weather balloon, and he turned around and came back with a handful of weather balloons and said, "I've been collecting them. Here you are," because he's got an 80,000 acre plot and he was getting weather balloons all the time. And they're like, "No, actually, it's a fairly specific weather balloon we're after that needs an 18-wheel truck to get off the property." And but the cool thing is that basically the last day, I believe it was about a 2-week operation, the last day when the vehicle was actually on the truck getting ready to go out, the Army personnel kept taking breaks. They'd go to lunch, they'd go to dinner, they'd go home at night, right? So one of the boys snuck back into the craft and actually broke a piece off the craft.
Oh, wow.
And took it as a souvenir and kept it, and he's given it to Jacques Vallée. So this is not a piece of slag that fell off the ship. This is an actual interior part to the ship. Now, I will caveat that with there is debate going on between Jacques Vallée and his counterparts in that he is now of the belief that the part that the kid recovered might not have been part of the original ship. It might have been something that the Army mounted in the ship to hold up electrical cables and lighting. However, there's other people on this team that counter, no, this is not something that the Army would have used because of the nature of the metal that's used on it. So this is the debate going on. But either way, it's proof that the Army was there inside a craft, using electricity to analyze stuff, or it's an actual piece off a craft. One or the other, either way, a whole part, right? Super cool news. One of the boys is still alive. He's in his 80s. Jacques Vallée was able to interview him. And it's turning out to be a fantastic story. And I had you ever heard that a whole part had been captured, Dave?
No, I'll be honest with you, John. Up until I heard about this book coming out, I was very, very naive to this story and ignorant to this story. I didn't know much about it at all. I'd heard people talking about it as they do it, like whether it's Pascagoula or Travis Walton or whatever it may be, but I was very unfamiliar with this. So do me a favor, take a minute, 90 seconds to explain the Trinity event.
Sure. But let me just say real quick, don't feel bad. They kept it secret on purpose. Jacques and Paula
Harris.
Paula Harris. They tried to keep the lid on it because they wanted to finish their research before everyone, bear down on them. But basically what it came down to is a ship came out of the sky and essentially crashed onto this farmer's land who had 80,000 acres right near White Sands. Took out a communication tower as it came in, landed intact with occupants, was not that badly damaged. The two boys did go into it. Things that they noted was that it had a flat floor, which Jacques Vallée then determined based on the measurements that he got of the ship, that there was about 2.5 feet of depth beneath the floor of the ship that might have housed its propulsion systems, but there was no sign of any propulsion systems whatsoever. They have no idea what happened to the occupants. It was not only this part that they also got several other parts, and the father was recovering parts from that site for a long time. Many of the parts ended up getting used in the farm. They actually used the parts to do things like repair windmills and so forth. What's interesting is that it took 2 weeks to remove it. They brought in an 18-wheeled truck to remove it. There was significant equipment needed to remove it, so this was not a light object, nor was it a small object. And but the army was very open with him. They asked for permission to enter the land. They were very friendly with the family. It wasn't like this big cloak and dagger thing because it's in 45. No one's got experience with this, right? And the ship was gone in 2 weeks. The occupants disappeared in 1 day. They don't know what happened to them. And essentially life went on. And these two brothers kept this story. One of them passed away. One of them still alive. And she found them. And this is just a beautiful diamond in the rough story 2 years before Roswell.
Wow. That is amazing.
It is.
That is amazing.
It is.
How come this story hasn't really, up until now, taken off like Roswell did or other stories have? What's your opinion on that?
Well, essentially, because until the book came out, which was honestly only about 4 months ago, there was an active suppression going on of the story. And essentially, she's the one that brought Vallée into it. Vallée found out about it from Paula. So I mean, she kept it. She got this story. I don't know exactly how she got her hands on it, but she sunk her teeth into it, and it became her pet project. And essentially, it was intentionally kept out. Now, the book came out 4 months ago. It's now been translated into several languages. They believe that there might be a connection to Roswell in that some of the material recovered is very similar to the material that was rumored to be recovered at Roswell. And so it's possible that it was a similar vessel. But essentially, it comes down to the fact that they kept a lid on it until the book came out. And now finally, and my understanding is that like when the book first came out, some of the early reviews I read of the book didn't give me a reason. I didn't feel compelled to read it. I kind of put it on it's on my list, but I hadn't read it yet. It wasn't like I want to read it. And it's only because Jacques Vallée's been doing all these interviews that I've suddenly been like, whoa, like there's a bunch of stuff going on that I wasn't aware of. Because the other thing he talks about is that there's a professor at Stanford, a Dr.
Gary Nolan?
Dr. Peter. This is Dr. Peter SOR Oct. And Dr. SOR Oct is an interesting individual because he's a professor emeritus, which basically means that he's been there a long time and they can't touch him. And he had done some material analysis in the past, but unfortunately he had only had a very small amount of that crash site. Well, Jacques Vallée, being Jacques Vallée, went down to Venezuela and started asking around and found a UFO museum that had more of it. And so they gave it to him. He grabbed it. He brought it back to Stanford and gave it to this guy. And so this Dr. Derek SOR Oct is basically working with Vallée to analyze this material, once again using the same isotopic analysis ability that we've heard about from Gary Nolan, because this device is a $1 million device, and my understanding is there aren't many of them in the world. And but the really, really exciting part, other than the coolness that Jacques Vallée was able to just go down and go, hey, I'd like more of that, and they gave it to him. It must be nice being Jacques Vallée. And hopefully he carries around a copy of that movie and says, like, this is me, right? But the really cool part is that this professor, Dr. Peter SOR Oct and Vallée have been working for 2 years on a paper based on the isotopic ratio analysis of the Venezuelan parts. I don't know if this paper includes the Trinity parts or it's just the Venezuelan parts, but it's material, and they've made it through peer review. The paper has now been accepted for publication.
Wow!
It won't actually be published for a couple months, but I cannot put enough emphasis on what I just said. Their paper has been accepted for publication. That means they've passed peer review and it's going out in a respectable and in a very official way to a very wide audience of scientists. And it's gone through 2 years of peer review. This, for a lot of people like me, this is what we've been waiting for.
Do we know what publication it's going to be in?
No, he did not say, and he's trying to be a little more careful. He's only saying so much because until it actually gets published, it happened to Dr. Dean Radin once, where he got a paper published and a week later they pulled it down because some of the people giving money to that group basically complained and had the paper pulled after publication. And so you do want to be careful. But I guarantee you, Dr. Peter SOR Oct, I haven't met him. I'm going to try to as soon as I can, but because Stanford's very close to me, and I went there for 3 years a couple of years ago in the theoretical physics program that Peter SOR Oct works in. So I'm hoping I might be able to finagle a meeting with him. But I guarantee you, this guy in Vallée, they're being careful. They are dotting every I, crossing every T. And honestly, no one would let them survive peer review unless they had done so. I guarantee you that peer review is brutal, just brutal. But he says one of the things about this paper is he focuses very much on the process they took as well as what they discovered. Because one of the big deals about doing this kind of research is you're analyzing things you've never analyzed before. There's no standard set, and so it's very. This is the beginning of hopefully a nice process that's going to continue rolling out as more and more people feel confident enough to start publishing papers. And man, this is, I don't know how significant this individual paper is going to be, but just the fact that they're getting it out is huge. Absolutely huge.
Why do we continue to look towards Jacques Vallée as the leading researcher? I mean, I realize the man is brilliant. I realize the man has been around forever in this field. And, he's probably the top scientist in the world working on this that we are public about. You know what I'm saying? But why, after all this time with everything that is going on, why are we putting so much stock into him?
I'll give you a perfect example of this that came out on his interview with George Knapp the other night. And that was that, as many of you know, Jacques Vallée for a long time now has been saying that he doesn't think it's physical aliens from another place, right? He thinks it's something else. He thinks it's something else, right? He doesn't think it's actual ships coming here from afar. And this was his stance this has been his stance for a long time, right? And a lot of us have entertained that hypothesis. And what he said with George Knapp is he's had to eat a little humble pie with this one. And those were his words. And basically, so for him at his age, with his credibility, with his stature, with his history, to be, so willing now to just follow the data, for Christ, just follow the bloody data, stop pre-thinking the stuff and just follow the data. And that's what he did. And now he's completely changing. He still doesn't know if it's from another dimension or if it's from a distance, or he hasn't leapt to any of those conclusions yet. But he has now had to accept that there is a very physical, hard element to this phenomenon. And that's changed his stance. And for him to make that flip like that, those are the kind of people we want.
Well, I mean, I can understand where he would get his fill of the woo because Paola Harris is filled with woo. All right.
Yeah, but boy, does she get credit for this one, man. This is good, bits and bolts, and I mean this is good stuff. This is something you can take into a lab.
It's going to be interesting to see what the highlights are that are coming out of it. It's going to be very interesting to see. I have one final question for you, and we only got about 45 seconds.
Yep.
We're starting to see Lou Elizondo get a little frustrated with some of the questions he's being asked on interviews. Now, obviously, when you do as many interviews as him, you're going to get a lot of the repetitive questions, but he's really seeming to start taking shots back and dropping the gloves a little bit with anybody who is questioning whether or not he worked at ATIP. What's going on there?
Most of us cannot lower our armor for just one thing. We lower our armor as a unit. And what this means is that as he becomes more comfortable to share, as he becomes more relaxed to share, like in that interview with Kurt, he shared some really cool information that I thought was super interesting. That was very personal. The instant he lowers his guard enough to share that, the guard against showing his emotions for his frustration go down with it. And so it's just part of being human.
It's interesting to watch him change.
It is. It's fun. It's actually really fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Not as robotic anymore. John, we'll see you for the after show. And here we go with Shirky Poo's news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show. We get the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the odd. A man in possession of weapons, meth, and night vision binoculars has been arrested in Victoria, British Columbia after trying to break into a storage locker. Around 7 a.m. back on Sunday, October 17th, the Victoria, BC Police Department responded to reports of a storage locker break and enter outside of an apartment building in Victoria. After locating and arresting a suspect, police found in his possession knives, a cattle prod, several break-in instruments, night vision binoculars, and a significant quantity of meth, all of which were seized according to the release. Victoria PD transported the man to cells and recommended charges of break-and-enter, possession of break-and-enter instruments, and carrying of a concealed weapon. The man has been released until a future court date with conditions. Moving on. If you got $3.5 million, you can buy the Nightmare on Elm Street house. Yes, this Los Angeles home from the 1984 horror flick has been listed for sale in the time of Halloween. Of course, the price again, $3.5 million. The 3-bedroom Spalding Square house, listed by realty agency Douglas Elliman, was purchased previously for $2.1 million in 2013 by Hustlers director Lorene Scafaria. The 2-story house served as protagonist Nancy Thompson's home in Wes Craven's classic slasher film and was the location of the character's final showdown with the iconic killer Freddy Krueger. It was so much fun bringing this house to market during a historic real estate inventory shortage, said listing agent Liarka Bosnak. Buyers are worn out. They've been looking for a great house, one with enough bedrooms and ensuite bathrooms and space to work from home. And here it is, and it's beautiful, and it's ready to buy. Let alone there is tulpa movement all over the place. Yes, and finally, a Florida charter boat captain said he was just off the coast of Florida when he made a rare discovery, found a 6.5-inch megalodon tooth. Yep. Scary stuff. He says, this I'll keep forever for sure. I can't take my mind off it. They say megalodons went extinct between 23 million to 3.6 million years ago. But for those of us in the know, we know that it's still out there somewhere watching me. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, John Hudson for the UFO report, and Jonathan Davies for his incredible stories. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight, YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Hello, Archie Manning here. When you grow up in a town like Drew, you understand once a Mississippian, always a Mississippian. I love this place and care about what happens here. Our doctors are telling us 95% of new hospital patients who have COVID did not get vaccinated. We know the vaccine works, but only if you get it. It's easy and it works. Please get vaccinated, my friends, and stay healthy.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now